Good morning, everybody. It is the second day of the NFL wildcard round. And how good were the games yesterday? Both games, and especially the Rams-Panthers one, I think because I just wasn't anticipating it to be a good game, especially the way it started. Kind of caught me off guard that it ended up being as good as it was. But that game was awesome. Then the Packers-Bears game, that one I think we were all expecting to be a really good game. But even so, lived up the hype and then some. Caleb Williams, he was sick down the stretch of that game, making some unreal throws, and then still looks like the Packers had a chance to come back. So hopefully today's games are able to carry out and continue on what we ended up seeing yesterday. And we're going to break them all down right here. So do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you guys also want to sign up for any of the packages that we have here at Stochastic, the links to sign up are down below in the YouTube description box. That will get you access to our Discord channel, which you guys do have questions for me and you are a Stochastic sub over the course of the show. Hit me up in Discord. I'll be answering any of those, whether it's just a general question or you want me to build a lineup out for you, anything along those lines. So we only have 3 games today. So here's how the show is going to be scheduled. I'm going to be here building lineups for the next 30 minutes. Then it's going to be Ben and Lofty for an hour on the deeper dive. And then it's going to be Eric and Spags for an hour on Live Before Lock. Since it's only 3 games, we made it a little bit shorter just so we're not wasting too much of your guys' time or ours. Just felt like we could get everything in that we need in still a lot of time here, 2.5 hours, but figured that was enough time to cover just the 3-game slate. So let's get to it. Looking at the projections here to start, and at the quarterback spot, we've got most of the quarterbacks projecting pretty well for today, and pretty comparably as well. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, and Drake May are all over a 20 fantasy point projection. The only 2 QBs on the slate under 20 fantasy points, 18 fantasy point projection for Justin Herbert, and then a 16 fantasy point projection for Brock Purdy. So those are the 2 guys at the bottom of the list. Ownership at the quarterback spot, we've got Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, all north of 20% owned. Then you got 10+% ownership to Drake May and Justin Herbert. Brock Purdy, he's your contrarian quarterback, only 6% ownership going to Purdy. And I know it might seem low where it's like, hey, Purdy's been great for DFS purposes, only 6%, but look how loaded this slate is for quarterbacks. We've got a bunch of the top fantasy QBs, so it's just hard for all of these guys to end up getting ownership. At the running back spot, we've got here Christian McCaffrey leading the way, 21.8 fantasy points. Then you've got Saquon Barkley, 18.6. Same with James Cook, actually. We've got them separated by 1/10 of a fantasy point here. So barely any difference between Saquon Barkley and James Cook. Ownership at the running back spot, we've got CMC leading the way, 66% owned. Then Barkley, 50%. Cook just under 50%. Then you got Travis Etienne at 33%. Nobody else really showing a massive amount of ownership. We've got those 4 top guys, and there's a big drop-off to everybody else. Points per dollar running backs, it's pretty much the guys that we just said: Barkley, McCaffrey, Cook, Etienne. So it looks like a pretty good slate to be spending up at the running back position. Wide receivers. And now another reason that it's a pretty good slate to be spending up at wide receiver to be spending up at running back is because look at the state of wide receiver. We've got A.J. Brown for just under 16 fantasy points. The second highest projected wide receiver on the entire slate, it's Stephon Diggs at 13.3 fantasy points. Now, what is the reason for this? Well, the reason for it is because if you look at the NFL receiving leaders this year, almost none of them made the playoffs. Loft and I were talking about this the other day. We were looking at the top pass-catching wide receivers for the regular season, and I'm just kind of going off memory, but something like 9 of the top 12 players this year in receiving yards did not make the playoffs. So as a result, a lot of the stud wide receivers are not options for us today. And then we've got just kind of rough options at wide receiver. And then we just got studs at running back. So you got A.J. Brown, just under 16 fantasy points. Diggs at 13.3. You got Devonta Smith just under 13. Same with Jacoby Myers. Parker Washington for 12.3. So there's a big drop off the wide receiver. No really high-end guys either. And then at the ownership, we've got A.J. Brown 42% owned. Parker Washington, 35. Jacoby Myers, 33. Devonta Smith, 32. And nobody else more than 30% owned at the wide receiver spot. At tight end, we've got George Kittle leading the way for 14 fantasy points, 11.5 to Henry, 11 to Dallas Goedert. Nobody else with a double-digit fantasy point projection. And then ownership, Kittle 31% owned, Goddard 22%, Henry 21%. Kincaid and Brenton Strange both just under 20% owned. Your top points per dollar plays at tight end, that is going to be Dallas Goedert, Dalton Kincaid, Hunter Henry, Brenton Strange. I realize I forgot to do this at wide receiver, so I'll circle back. Your top points per dollar plays at wide receiver, it's Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start building out some lineups. And I'll tell you my favorite spot for the slate. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. I love this matchup for them against the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, great job by Harbaugh this year because just so many injuries San Francisco dealt with. Ironically, the only player who didn't get hurt for them over the course of the season was the guy who's historically been their most injury prone in Christian McCaffrey. But you look at the defense, injuries to guys like Bosa and Warner, and they were able to hold on for a lot of the season, but the defense totally collapsed down the stretch. I think the Eagles should roll in this game. You never know. We saw all kinds of weird things happen yesterday. The Rams should have rolled against the Panthers. Well, the Rams have been struggling a little bit lately, and that game ended up being really competitive. But on paper, I do think this should be a great matchup for the Eagles offense, and I love the upside of their passing game, especially when you consider how weak the options are at wide receiver. So I want to start here with a Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith double stack, and we'll see what we can make work around this core build of a stack. So we've got, 51.5 remaining for the rest of the spots. Let's see, what can we plug in for cheap at defense to make it so that this fits pretty easily? Who's our top points per dollar defense? It actually is the Eagles at 2,900. We got the Chargers we could plug in at 2,200. All right, let's try to save the most amount of salary. I go the Chargers for now. So with the Hurts, Brown, and Smith in, and then the Chargers defense, we've got 57.40 left for the final spots. We're probably going to have to go a little bit cheaper at tight end. So let's plug in. We could go to Brenton Strange. We could go to Kincaid. Who do we have better on a points per dollar? All right, so let's go Kincaid at 3,800. And then for the running back spots, boy, we've already got an Eagles passing game stack, so probably don't want to go to Barkley here. We could go to McCaffrey as a run back. Let's see what that does to our salary, though. 5,467. Can we still fit Cook in here? Let's try. If not, we could go to ETN. 4,500. Let's try ETN. Cook might work, though. We'll try ETN. So if we go ETN, then we've got a wide receiver and a flex left. All right, let's just go to 10% randomness. Press complete the lineup. We got Parker Washington. It still gave us Dallas Goedert for the triple stack. Left $600 in salary on the table. All right, let's take the Chargers defense out. Let's take Goddard out and Parker Washington and try re-rolling it with the defense being changed. And all right, well, it still gave us the Chargers defense, but instead Hunter Henry at tight end. So we have here Jalen Hurts, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Parker Washington, Hunter Henry, Dalton Kincaid, Chargers defense. Let's run this and see how it ends up coming out. Paul, when is Eagles stack on off? I believe they won the Millie twice this year, if I'm not mistaken. We had the slate where, let me pull this up. So there was the game against the Cowboys, was it? I think it was the Cowboys game where, no, it wasn't the Cowboys game. There was one game where it was like Jalen Hurts was 2% owned. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith were both 1% owned, and both Brown and Smith had over 100 receiving yards each. But yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple of times that Eagle stacks won the Millie this year. I can't remember exactly which weeks there were off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, it certainly happened this year. All right, so 75.3% sim ROI, so pretty good start here. That looks like a good Eagles stack to begin us here. And let's try now going to a Josh Allen skinny stack. Josh Allen is so difficult to stack on some of these slates just because his pass catchers, we never know exactly who it's going to be. We know he's got a lot of rushing upside, but I think it makes most sense. We're trying to figure out who to stack Josh Allen with. I have the most confidence in Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. Kincaid got off to a pretty good start this year. Then he got banged up, dealt with injuries for a lot of the year. But if it wasn't for him missing some time, Kincaid was on pace to be one of the better overall, fantasy tight ends for the year. So let's see what we could do with this. Allen, Shakir, Kincaid. Now, I think this is where it really makes sense to spend up at running back with these guys in. Then we could go to McCaffrey and Barkley. Yeah, let's keep this as a core and optimize around it. So we've got Josh Allen, McCaffrey, Barkley, Shakir, and Kincaid. And let's optimize around these guys. And it gave us Keenan Allen, Parker Washington, the Chargers defense. James Cook showed up in the lineup too. I don't really want James Cook though, because then it's a ton of exposure to them. Let's instead just plug ETN into the flex and then re-optimize, and that will make sure that we don't get to James Cook in this lineup too. So let's take Keenan Allen out. Let's take Parker Washington out, and we'll leave everything else the same. All right. So Parker Washington still showed up. Keenan Allen, but we got the Eagles defense instead, but ETN instead of Cook. All right. Let's run this. How do Bills double stacks look? 100% sim ROI. All right. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. 100% sim ROI. Let's also try one. I saw somebody in the chat bring this up, but it's something that Lofty and I tried the other day as well. Just Josh Allen to James Cook. And, we saw one of these games a couple of weeks ago where Josh Allen and James Cook was one of the top stacks of the week. Where was it? I guess it was a little bit further back than what I remember. It was this game, November 16th against the Buccaneers, where he had 66 receiving yards and a touchdown out of James Cook. And then you had Josh Allen run for 3 touchdowns. So as a result for that slate, you had a Josh Allen, James Cook combination end up being a slate winner. Let's try this. So if we go Allen and Cook, and then we're going to try to get no other players from the Bills in this lineup. We'll go Kittle at tight end. At wide receiver, let's throw in A.J. Brown. We could go to Parker Washington as a run back. Washington is one of my favorite cheapish wide receivers at 5K. And he projects well for us, top points per dollar wide receiver. So if we go Allen, Cook, Brown, Washington, we'll still plug in McCaffrey. See if this works. Only 3K left. Probably need to get a little more salary savings. Let's take McCaffrey out and Kittle out. Made that a little bit too restrictive to try to get McCaffrey and Josh Allen into that same lineup there with Cook as well. So if instead we go Allen, Barkley, Cook, A.J. Brown, Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, Hunter Henry, Kincaid showed up in the flex. All right, so this ended up being a little bit more of a game stack, but it ended up being hard to completely get away from some of the other Buffalo pieces. But let's try this. Completely different looking stack. This is going to be Josh Allen to James Cook in this. All right. 96.8% sim ROI. Okay, so this looks good. So we could make lineups that are Allen and Cook that end up coming out looking pretty good. Let's try one with Brock Purdy. Well, actually, let's go to FanDuel, and then we'll come back to DraftKings afterwards. And no questions yet in the Discord. And if you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will be here for the next few hours leading up until lock. And also, if you're looking for more bets or other content in general, go check out Tails. It is totally free to check out the Tails app. And you could find tons of bets from me there. I have my bankroll building content. I track the results and post it publicly every day. You've also got Lofty posting all kinds of bets. Josh does a lot of prize pick stuff, as well as DFS content. Eric does a little bit of everything. Ben does whatever the hell it is that he's betting for the day. So go check it out. It is totally free to download the Tails app. And if you're really enjoying your experience, leave us a nice 5-star review. And then maybe if you're feeling really generous, take like a minute out of your time to write 1 or 2 nice sentences for us, something that helps us in the App Store algorithm. All right, let's see. Let's see what we could do on FanDuel. Chump, when you late swap, how do you not get a tight end in the flex? Well, if you want to, you could do negative ROI boosts to tight ends, but you should want to play tight ends in the flex. I don't really understand why people will say that they just don't want tight ends in the flex. The answer is you should want to play tight ends in the flex, especially on some of these like 2-3 game slates. They often end up being some of the better sources of salary savings. We did get a lineup from Miami Mike. So let's build out this FanDuel lineup, and then we'll get to Mike's lineup and see how that's looking. All right. So on FanDuel, we haven't made a Trevor Lawrence lineup yet. So let's try a Trevor Lawrence lineup, and we'll run it back with James Cook. As far as pass catchers, let's go to Parker Washington and probably Jacoby Myers. Yeah, Jacoby Myers at 6,300. He projects really well on a points per dollar basis over on FanDuel. So still going to plug Parker Washington in, but in general, just because of what the prices are, on FanDuel, I think Jacoby Myers is the best Jaguars pass catcher to pair with Trevor Lawrence. On DraftKings, I think it's Parker Washington. This lineup, we're going to put both of them in. So we got Lawrence, Cook, Myers, and Washington. That gives us $6,100 left. Let's go to a defense. We'll plug in. Let's just go to the Eagles at 4,200. They're the best points per dollar one that we have. Gives us $6,500 for a running back, wide receiver, tight end, and the flex. So in the tight end spot, let's go to Hunter Henry at 5,500. And we'll complete the lineup with the optimizer for the rest of it. This gives us Lawrence, Cook, ETN. I'd prefer not to have ETN in, so I'll try to re-roll to see what we can get here instead of him. Just so that we're not getting a triple stack here from the Jaguars. All right, here we go. Re-rolled it. Or if we do get a triple stack, at least Brenton Strange instead of ETN to give us another pass catcher. All right, so Lawrence, McCaffrey, Cook, Devonta Smith, Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, Hunter Henry, Brenton Strange, Chargers defense. Let's give it a run. And then we'll plug in Miami Mike's lineup here. And yes, came out looking pretty solid, 53.3% sim ROI. So still positive, not as good as the lineups that we built over on DraftKings before. One thing that is kind of interesting that we've seen about the playoff slates, which is different than what we got pretty much the entire season. FanDuel pricing has been much tighter for the playoffs, whereas in the regular season, there was a bunch of slates where you could just build lineups with whoever the hell you wanted on FanDuel. You pay up for 2 or 3 stars. You're able to get a pay up quarterback. You can go to a decent defense. But that has not been the case for the playoff slates. So on DraftKings yesterday, it was the case for the playoff slate where it was hard to get away from Puka Nacua. Obviously ended up being very optimal. But even if you wanted to, it was hard to get away from Puka Nacua unless you were leaving like $1,500 to $2,000 in salary on the table. So DraftKings pricing, a little bit softer for the playoffs. FanDuel a little tighter. Miami Mike's lineup, he has got a Trevor Lawrence stack. All right. He is going to Trevor Lawrence, McCaffrey. Who do you have stacked with Lawrence? You went with Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington. Okay. So you've got Christian McCaffrey and going with, Trevion Henderson. And then you've got a wide receiver, mentioned the stacking partners. You also have A.J. Brown in here with Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers. Then you went with, at tight end, Dalton Kincaid. At the flex, you've got Devonta Smith. So you've got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith in the lineup. There's a lot of weird things you can do with wide receiver on this slate. It is just a really, really tough position. And then the Chargers defense. By the way, you pulled an EMAC there. You said San Diego for the Chargers. That's like when EMAC calls Hunter Henry, Travis Henry. Only $100 in salary left on the table. Let's run it. Will it be positive? Not terrible, 10.6%. So there's one thing here. I totally understand if you guys want to roster some of these other running backs, but we have the top end running backs, meaning McCaffrey, Cook, Barkley, and ETN all projected really well. And then there's a big drop off at running back. So I think any lineup that is using the other running backs instead of those guys, it's going to ding it a little bit. It doesn't mean these guys are unplayable, but just something to be aware of in terms of being cautious going too heavy with like Henderson or Ramondre Stevenson or taking one of the backup running backs or something like that, just because running back is so loaded. So I think this lineup is fine to play, Mike, but just out of curiosity, I'm going to try rolling it by, let's just take out Devonta Smith, the Chargers defense, and Trevion Henderson, and let's complete the lineup around these guys and see what shows up instead. So James Cook, Kincaid in the flex. This does give you more of a game stack with Cook and Kincaid, still the Chargers defense. Just for comparison, let's see what the sim ROI is for this. Yeah, much better. 73.7% sim ROI. And that's just because of how much lower we have some of the other running backs like Henderson projected as opposed to some of the top end guys. Let's see. BitG. He's going with a Drake May lineup. Let's check it out. We haven't rolled one with Drake May yet. So you've got May and who? Okay, you went so May to Hunter Henry. And then you've got McCaffrey and Cook. Okay. Looking good so far. Wide receiver, Quentin Johnston. How do we have Johnston projected? Okay, not great, not terrible either, though. 9 fantasy points. Brian Thomas. Same sort of situation. Not great, not terrible. 10 fantasy point projection. Let's see. Who else? Is that Brandon Cooks that you have in there? I assume so. You said B Cook, so I'm assuming Brandon Cooks. Then you went with Hunter Henry. I think your wide receiver is going to hurt you a little bit here. Hunter Henry, Barkley in the Chargers defense. But you did jam in the stud running backs, so I do like that. But what we'll do is we'll run this, and then we'll try doing everything the same, but just changing out the wide receivers to whoever projects the best for us with the remaining salary, and we'll see what that ends up doing to your sim ROI. But I'm curious. We got Drake May, Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, Quentin Johnston, Brian Thomas, Brandon Cooks, Hunter Henry, Saquon Barkley, Chargers defense. So your problem here is the wide receivers. In particular, Brandon Cooks. So we only have projected for 5 fantasy points. Let's just try taking out Cooks, Thomas, and Johnston, leaving everything else the same, and see what ends up showing up in the optimizer. Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, and Tyrell Shavers instead. Shavers also is a really shitty projection for us at 4 fantasy points. But maybe this gets this lineup to be positive. Maybe. Not quite. Negative 5.5. Yeah, maybe you're probably going to have to sacrifice one of the spend up running backs so that you don't have to play a really crappy punt wide receiver. That's probably what you're going to have to do to make that lineup be expected to be decent. We've got from Dustin another Trevor Lawrence lineup. This one over on FanDuel. So let's go check it out. Trevor Lawrence with Cook and Barkley. Okay. Lawrence, Barkley, Cook. Then at wide receiver, you went to Washington and Jacoby Myers. So this is pretty similar looking so far to the Trevor Lawrence double stack that I made earlier. You've got Diggs and Henry. Okay, so this is where it deviates a little bit. We did not have Diggs in that lineup. Diggs and Henry. Then you've got Dallas Goedert for a double tight end. And then finally at defense, you've got the Eagles. All right, let's see. We've got pretty much all the salary used. This looks pretty solid to me at first look. I think this should have a positive sim ROI. Yeah, 74.2. Looking good, Dustin. Wouldn't make any changes to that lineup. What do we got from Ollie here? A Justin Herbert lineup. We haven't rolled out a Justin Herbert lineup yet, so we can see how some of these look. Herbert to Cook and Stevenson. Yeah, and what is our projection here on Ramondre Stevenson? We have him. We could run into the same situation we had before with Miami Mike's lineup, where the lineup had Trevion Henderson and it just came out okay, but not great. And then we took him out and ended up looking a lot better. But we do have Ramondre Stevenson projected for 11 fantasy points. So Herbert, Stevenson, Cook. Then you went Diggs, Lad McConkey, and Keenan Allen. All right, so double stack. One thing with Justin Herbert, I don't think it's impossible for him to have a good game or anything like that. I just think there's other teams to stack that are a little bit easier because there's so many possible pass catchers for the Chargers. And then it's also, you're combining the bad matchup for Herbert on top of it. So It's not that Herbert can't have a good game. It's just I think these stacks are so much more difficult to figure out because the matchup is difficult. So not only do you need the big game from Herbert, you also have to figure out that amongst Johnston, McConkey, Allen, Gadsden, who's actually going to score the fantasy points. It's just a lineup to me that is a really tricky path to end up being the winning lineup compared to some of the other spots. Like if Jalen Hurts throws for 300 yards and multiple touchdowns, I think we feel pretty good that A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, 2 out of those 3 guys are going to be the one. Whereas some of these other teams like Chargers, there's so many more possible options that my preference is to go in other directions. Let's see. Who'd you have at flex? McCaffrey. And then at the defense, you've got the 49ers. All right, so you're going pretty contrarian here. We've got, oh, I just realized I have the wrong slate selected. All right, let's go to the Sunday slate. My bad. All right, so try to plug this in quickly. Herbert. And then you had here Cook and Stevenson. Wide receiver, you had Allen and McConkey. Well, it would have been nice if I didn't select the wrong slate because then we'd be simming this right now. You had Diggs. Then you went with Strange, CMC. There we go. All right. Took a little detour, but we're back on track. And then you had the 49ers defense. All right. See how this goes. So this is our first Justin Herbert lineup. And yeah, not terrible, negative 9.7%. But yeah, just a little bit harder to figure out the Charger stacks. And then Ramondre Stevenson probably in our data also drags that down just a little bit. D Sway is going with another Trevor Lawrence lineup here. So the majority of lineups that we've gotten so far are Trevor Lawrence lineups, which he is projected to be the chalkiest quarterback on the slate. So not massively surprising. I do wonder if when I built a Jalen Hurts lineup to start, just immediately people in chat are like, Eagles don't have upside. And we haven't gotten any super chats about the Eagles either. I do think individually, Barkley is going to be popular. Smith and A.J. Brown, especially the wide receivers, just because the position is so poor. I do wonder what the ownership is going to be of the Jalen Hurts double stacks, because it does seem to be something that people are just not all that inclined to want to build. Right, ETN and Christian McCaffrey with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. Then you've got A.J. Brown. You've got Jacoby Myers, Khalil Shakir as a run back. Okay. Dallas Goedert and Hunter Henry. So we've got the double tight end lineup here. Hunter Henry, Dallas Goedert, Eagles defense. And this one looks pretty good to me on paper. I think this should sim out well. Just based on the other Trevor Lawrence lineups that we've ran, which a lot of them, somewhat similar looking, although this one has ETN instead of Parker Washington. I'd say like 60 to 70%. Yeah. 58.7% sim ROI. We've seen this pretty consistently from the Trevor Lawrence lineups. And then we've got one more super chat here. Another Trevor Lawrence lineup. This is from Corey. Okay. Corey going Trevor Lawrence with McCaffrey and Stevenson. Okay. So we haven't done a Lawrence lineup with Stevenson here. Then we've got, I wouldn't be surprised if Stevenson ends up being a little bit higher owned than we have projected just because of the ceiling game he had last week. We see that really consistently. Somebody has one of their best games of the season. They just get this artificial ownership boost the next week. So I think that could happen with Stevenson. Diggs. We've got A.J. Brown and Parker Washington. So you've got just a single stack here. Yeah, Lawrence to Washington. Then you've got Hunter Henry and another one with Dallas Goedert at the flex. All right. A lot of Dallas Goedert at the flex lineup so far. And then finally, the Jags defense. And perfect. Uses all the salary. So let's run this. And then we've got one more super chat from Nicholas, and it is, it's negative 23.1. Let's just see if we take Stevenson out. I have a feeling that's what the issue is. Yeah, let's take Stevenson, the Jaguars defense, and Goddard out. And instead, Lawrence, McCaffrey, Barkley, and then Gadsden in the flex. See, that should probably come out a little bit better. And then this lineup from Nicholas. We'll run this. It's another, 23.1% sim ROI. So I see there's a couple ones in chat too. Here's what I'm going to do because I'm running out of time. I'm going to answer the super chat, and then the ones in Discord, I will run through right after the show ends so I could turn this over to Lofty and Ben, and then I'll hang out in Discord and answer any questions you guys have for a little bit after this. All right. Nicholas's lineup, which is Trevor Lawrence, who is now accounting for like 75% of the super chat lineups, Christian McCaffrey and James Cook, A.J. Brown, Parker Washington. Okay, A.J. Brown, Parker Washington, Keon Coleman. All right, well, here's already an issue with your lineup. Keon Coleman lineups are not going to come out looking good. I can just about guarantee it. Aronde Gadsden, Stephon Diggs. Like, I don't even know that Coleman's going to get snaps today. He's been so uninvolved in everything that the Bills have done down the stretch of the season. All right. So this is going to come out negative, but it's going to be because of Coleman. Yeah, negative 56.7. Okay, so let's take out Coleman and the Patriots defense, and I guess Diggs as well, just to give us a little bit of salary to play with. And instead, we've got now Lawrence, McCaffrey, Cook, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Parker Washington, Dalton Kincaid, Aronde Gadsden, the Eagles defense. All right, so just taking Keon Coleman out, let's see what this does to the sim ROI. 20%. Yeah, so I mean, it improved it from negative 30% to positive 20%. So I get it. People like Keon Coleman. He's a little bit of a character, and there are times where he's shown upside. He's just not involved enough in what the Bills are doing right now to reliably trust him. So guys, that is going to do it for me, but don't go anywhere. We're going to have, for 1 hour, Ben and Lofty on the deep dive, followed by Spags and Eric on Live Before Locks. There's still a couple more hours of football coverage. The wildcard games, they were sick yesterday. Hopefully we get more of the same today. Good luck with all your lineups today, guys.
Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Deeper Dive Sunday morning. Weird start time for us today. Similar colors, too.
Yeah, rocking green today.
Yeah.
Supporting the Eagles. I know I am.
Yeah, I know you are. Glad to have you guys here. Good morning. If you're sticking around from Greg's show, just popping in now, you'll have Eric and Spags, of course, after this, taking you all the way up to lock. 3 games. This is unlike most things. It's basically a Thanksgiving slate, except better. I mean, much better. The truth is, though, dude, I don't know if you can top yesterday. Those were some outstanding football games, and incredible. I'm not sure you would have expected it. Yeah.
So I gotta ask you not to rub salt in.
I was so live for that, man. I was so 2 minutes to go.
Matthew Golden. Longest touchdown, king of the end zone. You selected him early in the week on Tails. I thought first of all, how he scored on that play is beyond me, but still,
It was a
incredible.
sick play.
I can't believe you didn't win that.
When I posted it in Tails at the end, I said, and by the way, he was actually even more involved than I thought he would be. But when I posted that in Tails, I said, the fact that he hasn't scored this season just makes me like him more. Right? Like, oh, look at that nice little tap turn. Like the touchdowns are just so volatile anyway. They're so random that let's take the guy who has 0. Let's take the guy who has 0 touchdowns on the season and see how that goes. He got there, man. And the cool thing too was that I had posted this one over on Tails, right? And we were just going back and forth in there with the comments, and people are like, oh my God, we got it. And by the way, we still got, you can see it here, plus 6.5 units, man. We still got paid out on the touchdown, which is fine. But this comment right here that I loved, HSD 1080, where he's like, yeah, we still, I forget where it was. I don't know. Either way, I thought I found it, but I guess I lost it. He was like, here it is. Sweating it out till the end. Tails continues to be fun as hell. And then Cherry, I thought we had it. Great call. Very similar to you with the one a few weeks ago that I actually ended up winning, but you had the winning King of the End Zone. It's an awesome promo. I love doing it. And I love having people sweat it with us.
It's amazing. Your mic, I don't think, is plugged in.
My mic?
I don't know. That's what chat is saying.
My mic's definitely plugged in.
Or do you have it connected to the right audio?
Mm-hmm. Sure do. Yeah. How do I sound to you?
You sound all right. I have a new setup, so I thought it was on my end, but people don't care what I say. They're more concerned about what you say.
I can. If there's the humming. All right, hold on. Watch this. Go ahead and talk for a second.
All right.
Why does the whole season go smoothly for us until the beginning of the last 2 weeks? The whole season went super smooth.
Chat, tell me if there's still a humming sound because I'll plug in headphones if I need to, but I don't hear anything. I don't know if you do, Lafe. Go ahead.
How about now? It was on mine. You guys can let me know. Something with the mixer. I don't know.
Thank God. If it was me, that was it. That was a laugh.
No, you were good. You're good. When they said a humming sound, I knew it was me. But yes, it was close, man. Like you said, I thought we had it too. And then it was like the DJ Moore, surprise. Matt LaFleur, what a choke artist. Would you fire him?
I can't believe. I mean, I know the Bears do this, but that was to me more on the Packers.
It was. I've said, look, the Bears score 3 points in the first 3 quarters every game, and then they come. But still, you can't be up 18 at halftime and blow that game.
Yeah, you can't be given. I mean, this didn't affect them, but why are you giving screen passes to offensive linemen? When that play happened, I just knew we were destined for stupidity. They're lucky that fumble went out of bounds.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. I don't think you're echoing, by the way. I don't think Matt LaFleur is capable of winning a Super Bowl at all. I don't think he can do it. So you're going to have to mute while you're not talking or something, because you mentioned that there's an echo. It's not me echoing. It's actually on Ben's side this time. So, anyway, Ben got a new computer. He's figuring things out. Look, we don't have a fancy producer around this neck of the woods. Sometimes we just have to make things work. But we will, and we'll get into it right now. We got 3 games. Glad to have you guys here. If you don't mind, atone for your sins this morning. It sounds like the 2 of us need to atone, for being completely honest here. But atone, hit that thumbs up. We only have a few more of these shows to go before the season is officially over, and then we look forward to the draft, and then I look forward to best ball in preseason once again. But hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Goes a long way. It's free. Appreciate you guys, as always. The ghost of Jordan Klein. Yeah, the ghost of Jordan Klein. I actually talked to him the other day. I reached out to him. He's doing great. He's doing really well. I'm happy to hear it.
Jordan's good people. Always a fan.
The echo is gone. Now you got your headphones in. That's what it was. Yeah. See, everyone just blaming me because there was a small humming sound coming from my mic earlier. All right, you ready to dive into this one? Let's kick it off
Let's
with
do it.
our 1 o'clock game. I actually, let's go position by position. That might make more sense. What do you think?
I treat this like Thanksgiving, like you were saying, 3 games, position, because I'm more in favor. We got 6 quarterbacks, we got the stacks, we've got the one-offs, and that's kind of how I build on a 3-gamer.
Yeah, and also there isn't the ability. The reason I like going position by position here too, there aren't games you just write off. There's not a Jets Browns game you just say, all right, I'm not playing it, right? You can't write off any of these games. They're all of equal importance, whether you think they are or not. So let's do it that way. Start at quarterback. You know, there was one thing I was trying out, a type of stack that I was doing that I really like, and I want to get your thoughts on it just to kind of get this show kicked off. So what do you think about the idea of going Hurts double or triple, something crazy, right? I know you're already in favor of that. You have no problems there. But then in order to get exposure to the first game, which has a monster total, the highest on the slate, I was thinking you could do stuff where you just basically mostly fade the pass catchers in that game, which means that in all likelihood, Allen, even though he can do it with his legs, but Allen and Lawrence, he can too, aren't optimal. But then you go to the running backs. You know, James Cook, is there anybody better than James Cook at dominating difficult matchups? I'm not sure there is, where you just kind of write him off, and that's not going to be the case on a 3-game playoff slate, obviously. But the guy's so good at going into a difficult matchup and putting up 203. And then Travis Etienne on the other side. It is a run funnel game. So I think there's some interesting ways to still get the exposure you're looking for in this early game with stacks on the later games, the afternoon and the night window. But maybe the exposure you get is kind of the opposite of what those quarterbacks in the 1 o'clock game would need in order to be optimal on the slate.
It's fascinating because when you have Josh Allen, he can do so much by himself. There's a chance that he is super optimal.
Agreed.
But the Bills don't do anything substantial for the team itself. And that's just really, really tricky to decipher. Like, you could go Josh Allen skinny, you can go him with Kincaid, something like that. And they could put up 30, 40 points, and you don't want a lot of pieces. Whereas some of these late guys, I don't see any way if Herbert, the Chargers are a tough team to talk about, but like if Herbert has a big game, you know you're going to want some of these mid-range wide receivers. That's not the case for the Bills. And then for Trevor Lawrence, real quick, he might be the most popular stack. The way he's playing, his price point, his weapons, he is going to be really popular, and he probably should be.
I don't know if he should. I'm not going to just blanket statement that you shouldn't play Lawrence, because obviously we're going to get to Trevor Lawrence here and his price is still reasonable. The Buffalo Bills are still good at stopping the pass, and Trevor Lawrence is entirely capable of running the ball in. We've seen him do it. What was it, twice last week or 2 weeks ago? Trevor Lawrence ran it in and pretty much siphoned off any value from anybody else on his team that week. Him and Allen, they're not on the same level, but both of them are capable of doing that. And
100%.
I think right now, if you're, what's your input? I'm echoing on your side. I'll keep talking, but right now, I think with Allen, there's 2 sides of this, and I want to know where you guys are at in chat too, because you could have a Josh Allen situation, right, where he's great, but nobody else does anything. He doesn't really take anyone along for the ride. And he might even, you know what the crazy thing, he might throw 3 touchdowns, but they're spread around to the point where it doesn't really matter, right? Like Knox has 2 for 20 and a score. Kincaid has 3 for 30 and a score on this slate. It might not even matter. You know, Khalil Shakir ends up getting 4 for 40 and a touchdown, which again is fine, but are those guys totally necessary? No. Or because it's Josh Allen in a postseason game, he could simply go out there and just make Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid look elite. And I know we haven't seen much of that this season, but it's still Josh Allen and he's still capable of doing that. And sometimes I feel like when nobody expects something to happen, when pretty much everyone at this rate has given up on the idea that these pass catchers can become good stack attachments to Josh Allen is when he ends up going out there and when he ends up, making sure that two pass catchers come along for the ride and are optimal with him. So right now, our exposure on 0 uniques is very low to Josh Allen. I want to get a lot more of that. I know he's never won a road playoff game, but also the Jags have never won a game. This is crazy, where the game total is 50 or higher. Never. They're 0-23 in those situations. Did you know that?
What? That seems impossible.
I thought so too. It's not impossible. It's not. It's real. Someone had mentioned that the Cincinnati game, I forget when it was. They're like, no, closed at 49.5. So yeah, it's true. None of it means anything because Josh Allen's never won a road game, so you can pick your poison here. But exactly, Aaron, one of those things changes today. Exactly, which is why neither of them mean shit, except they're funny to talk about. I still want to get to some Josh Allen doubles. And in the playoffs, I look at this so much differently than I would any other situation.
It's so difficult because, all right, talk to me, Josh Allen doubles. Shakir, probably. A tight end, probably. Like, we know now Palmer's gone, but that doesn't really give us any clarity. If anything, it might make it more complicated. Gabe Davis, Coleman is back. So, like, or are you saying you're going to roll Cook with Josh Allen?
Probably. Well, you're right about that too. Could it be any of these guys? It's a problem. I don't love the idea of that, but ideally it would be Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid would be the two guys that I like the most here. And Josh Palmer, he's a guy that's been in and out all season long. He's not coming back, right? He's on the IR. He's done. Curtis Samuel's on the IR. So I don't know. You mentioned Coleman. Do we really think that they go out there and use Coleman the way Matthew Golden was used yesterday? Matthew Golden was never in the doghouse. They just rotate receivers a ton in Green Bay. They still like the kid. They've clearly soured on Keon Coleman. Gabe Davis is a guy that there's real familiarity there for sure, but I don't anticipate Gabe Davis getting much work here. We saw it in week 17 when it was a meaningful game. He was targeted one time. So I still think that Kincaid and Shakir are your best options, but yeah, right. I'd be lying to you if I said that any of them are comfortable plays. It just goes back to the idea that Josh Allen in the postseason, will he take it upon himself to not only produce on the ground, but also make these pass catchers, almost will them to being good in a spot like this?
The answer to that's clearly yes.
Right.
Like, if he has to run 15 times today, he will do that. If they're by the goal line, he's going to give himself multiple chances, I think, on every possession to actually score. So everyone knows this. Bills, I think you're going to see onslaughts. I mean, it's only 3 games, but you're going to see a lot of people just go Lawrence +3 with a couple back. You're going to see Allen, Cook, Shakir with Washington, with Myers, with ET. Like, you're going to see 5-6 players from this game. They fill tight end positions as well. It's just harder to decipher because all 6 quarterbacks, we don't really say this too often, Laffy, the worst quarterback on the slate is still pretty damn good.
Who would you say the worst quarterback is on the slate?
To me, it's Purdy.
Purdy, yeah. A lot of people like Brandon Cooks.
I do have a little exposure. I just have no idea what to expect, though, honestly.
Do we have any of them? I'm not getting any right now, but I do want to show you guys something. So when I ran the Sims, and I haven't submitted my lineups yet, Ben and I have a full hour to do that afterwards. So, I typically always wait on these type of shows. Shout out, unenviable position for Spags and Eric. Cause I hate doing live before lock and trying to get those lineups in. I've made multiple mistakes, but look at this. So right now I have no uniques. And you saw the exposures. If you go 4 uniques, this is really interesting because it's only a 3-game slate. We had a question about uniques. What do I think is optimal today? It's really a risk tolerance thing. The more uniques, the more spread out your exposure is going to be. And if you have guys you want to take serious stands on multiple and you don't want to go crazy and just spray and pray across the board and hope that one of your lineups breaks free, then, you probably want to go less uniques. But I do think this is interesting. We are still in positive sim ROI territory, Ben. 8.4%. If you go 4 uniques on a 3-game slate, and now you can see what that does to your quarterbacks. Josh Allen comes up a lot. So still a lot of positively simmed Allen lineups that just weren't getting into the 150. This to me, maybe not for all of the skill players, but for the quarterbacks, I actually do feel more comfortable spreading things around, still getting the highest exposure to Jalen Hurts, but I don't want to be getting 5% Josh Allen on this slate. Whether he's great or terrible means nothing to me. Josh Allen in the postseason, a guy who we know is going to have to do a ton, had another week to rest that foot, which I think is insanely important. I don't want to get that far under the field on Allen. If I'm with the field, fine. He's just too much of a game breaker for me to ignore that at 7K.
I mean, when you start fading people to that magnitude, you have to be, if you're willing to do that, you have to be willing to lose 100% because he has that ability. Whereas some of these other quarterbacks, I really don't think that that's the case. So I'm fine with it. I don't want to. This is a slate to me. You have to be careful not to rake yourself, like where you think that you have leverage, and then you're like, man, all right, nice. Josh Allen had a huge game, and then it's like, I'm 3% under the field. Like it's not actually helping you. So it's like it's a delicate balance. You have to take some stands. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, I don't see a situation where I'm just jamming 1 or 2 quarterbacks on a slate like this. I'm going to have healthy exposure to 5. Brock Purdy for me, I might not have any, to be honest.
Yeah, and a lot of chat right now saying that's the exact reason they're getting to Purdy, which I understand it. It is the toughest matchup, in my opinion. He has some rushing upside, but he doesn't have the same rushing upside as even a Justin Herbert, who's in a difficult matchup to throw. Herbert will probably take matters into his own hands, run quite a bit. Brock Purdy doesn't have that same upside there. You have Christian McCaffrey, but also I really don't know what to make of Brock Purdy today. We're getting very little Brock Purdy exposure, and that is with me running 4 uniques right now. The issue that I have is not that Brock Purdy in a playoff game, with a 5.5 point spread, whatever. Not that he's bad, but that if you're playing Brock Purdy, who are you comfortably playing? No, I shouldn't say comfortably because we don't even want to be comfortable with this, but who are you rostering him over at quarterback? And to me, that's where things get very difficult because you're not getting a discount on Brock Purdy at all. As a matter of fact, Brock Purdy's more expensive than Mac Jones. He's than Justin Herbert. He is, he's essentially the same price as Trevor Lawrence, same price as Jalen Hurts, same price as Justin Herbert. They're all within a few $100s of each other.
And if that's the case, you're basically saying, okay, I'm not getting it's not 2v2s. You're literally saying that you think either the leverage for that stack or just the actual output for the Niners is enough to do that. For me, we'll talk about Christian McCaffrey, obviously. You could take a piece of the Niners, and that's mostly what I'm doing, but I don't see the Purdy plus 2 or 3 as an optimal build for me. If that happens, he's a very talented player. There's too many other good quarterbacks and good stacks out there.
Also, one thing to consider, Trent Williams is expected to play, but that's been all over the map all week. We'll see if he ends up playing. Ricky Pearsall's also questionable for this one. So depending on which way it breaks, this San Francisco 49ers offense could look a whole lot worse or a whole lot better come, the inactives report that we get around 3:00 in the afternoon. That's a big deal to me. But yeah, if I were to give you the way I want, if it would be Hurts, Allen, Lawrence. This might sound crazy. Herbert, May, Purdy.
I like May better than you do, and Lawrence better than you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But very similar. I don't think you can really go wrong. I think that Drake May is I put him. I give people a little insight. It was on the premium side, but I have the over on his rushing yards today. I think Drake May is going to be mobile. I think he's going to be effective, and I know it's a competitive spread. I think New England's going to look pretty good tonight.
I actually took a page out of your book. I went a few days ago and bet Bryce Young over rushing, posted that one on Tails as well at 17.5. And it actually came down to 16.5, but cleared it easy, 24. These guys will run in situations where they need to. Another spot that I like a decent amount tomorrow, CJ Stroud over 12.5 rushing yards. I know you can get on board with that one.
I love that one because he's a capable runner and he chooses not to run. He's not gonna have that luxury in a tricky game. I know we're not talking Monday night, but yeah, these guys can move, and that's the crazy thing about this slate. Almost all of these quarterbacks are legit threats for 40 or 50 or 60 yards rushing in the right game script. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. Josh spent half the show on quarterbacks. No, well, I mean, kind of, but quarterbacks are tied to the pass catchers. So if you're talking about the quarterbacks, it's the stack in general, and we're trying to bake all of that into it. It's a lot different when you're talking about running backs. So yeah, quarterbacks typically they're going to determine what your lineup looks like, not just at a singular position. So yeah, I think it is pretty important that we do something like that and spend a lot of time at the position. I want to look at stacks exposure before we move on to running backs. Jalen Hurts, how about this, though? We really don't, because it's a 3-game slate, we don't have that much Jalen Hurts skinnies. It's a lot of doubles. It's a lot of triples. And I'm actually fine with it. You look at 22% combined double and triple stacks for Jalen Hurts. Trevor Lawrence, 21.5% triple stacks and double stacks. You're just not going to get to a lot of scenarios where these guys are going to sim out well with single or skinny stacks, even if they have rushing upside, because it's a 3-game slate. Josh Allen, we have the most of, but it's still sub 5%. Allen +2 makes the most sense here, clearly, given what we're getting as far as exposure goes. But yeah, you really see it. May, Lawrence, Hurts, Herbert, these guys are all sub 5% as skinny stacks. So I think the one thing that you can kind of ascertain when looking at the Sims data and the results after I ran it with a 10,000 in the contest generator at 10,000 field is that when you go with the skinny, then you need to hit so many other different pieces of this lineup, and it becomes more like a parlay with no correlation baked in. And yeah, I mean, could that win? Sure. If you were to just take a raw optimal lineup each week, Ben, it's probably going to be, a lot of like unstacked stuff, not unstacked, but skinny, plus all of these other random guys that nobody got to and nobody played. It's a whole lot different in practice, though.
So the thing that furthers the point too, as crazy as this is, with all these elite quarterbacks, we don't have elite wide receivers to the level of Puka and JSN and those guys. So it's not only that. Most of these quarterbacks, even with medium to decent games, when you're paying for $4,500 wide receivers, it's pretty easy to fathom that a couple of them are going to get there, and it's not just going to be one guy. I guess the Eagles a little bit with A.J. Brown, but like look at some of these other teams. Their first and second and third options are 4K tight ends or 4K wide receivers. You're gonna probably, unless all the production goes to one guy and he goes Jalen Coker style, you're going to have a lot of guys with 18 to 20, and that's enough to factor into a 3 or 4-man stack.
Yep. That's how I see it too. Colin James, Dave, you ready to cry about your Eagles today? I don't know, man. I guess I'll just, you know what I'll do to not cry if they lose? I'll think about last February when they won the Super Bowl. That's all.
Do people remember that? I genuinely feel like this year, nobody thinks of the Eagles as the champs.
I know. I've told people my emotions are so much more blunted this year when it comes to games, and I'm invested, but I don't care nearly as much because they've won 2 in the last 7 years. It's not that you don't care anymore, but it's not the same feeling before they got one. Colin, I don't know who your team is, but once you get a couple, like Chiefs and Patriots fans probably feel similarly. Anyway, let's talk about running backs here, because I think there's a position or a spot that could go a little bit overlooked. Maybe not. Maybe not. McCaffrey's getting a ton of ownership. Barkley, Cook, even Travis Etienne, who I like quite a bit today, are getting a lot. He's been inefficient on the ground a lot. My hope is that against Buffalo, they just feed him, use him in the passing game. I don't know if they will, but I actually want to start here down at the bottom. And I want to know where you're at on Amari Hampton. Amari Hampton said he expects to play, right? It's against New England. It's not a great matchup. They're pretty short road dogs. Last I looked was 3.5 points. When healthy, he's been pretty good. They still use Vidal a little bit, but I don't know how much they use him in a game like this. Better pass blocker, though, and we've seen him used more on third downs and passing downs. Is there any reason that you would get to Hampton today, given that he's 6,200?
So it's tricky because when you talk about guys like that, there's got to be a game theory element because, like, why am I playing him with extra unknown variance and risk? I don't love the matchup. I haven't completed my lineups, but the ones that I have not been getting to them. And it's just a product of what am I really trying to do there? If you want to tell me that's your leverage spot, you think he's fine, I can accept that. But I just think there's so many ways that if he was completely healthy, he wouldn't necessarily have a huge game. And then there's a real chance. It's an ankle, is it not? It's an ankle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the worst. That's up there with hamstrings of like, he may not get terribly injured, but he also might just, twist the ankle again. And it just hinders him to the point where I have real reservations about getting to him. If I get to more Herbert and I slide him into a couple lineups, maybe in large field tournaments, but I love him as a player. I think this slate is really tough for him to factor in, though, to be honest.
Is it the same ankle?
I don't know.
Right ankle.
It seems like it's a real, the Chargers, rightfully so, they're so banged up. They took week 18 off. It didn't seem like Hampton was just sitting to sit, clearly. Like he's actually injured, where this would be a real storyline in week 9 or week 3. It's not just, he's a little banged up like everybody else. He's clearly somewhat injured.
I think so. Yeah, and I'm not confident too in the matchup. If this would be a little bit different if we were talking in week 17 and they were going up against the Jets, maybe I'll take some shots on this, but it's against a really stout defense and not a team that's just going to give him yards. You're going to have to create those, and that gets really difficult. Zach says different ankle. Okay, but an ankle nonetheless is the thing, which is not great. If you were to ask me who I like the most here, I think most people are going to go to guys like Barkley and McCaffrey, and I totally understand that. You should be getting to some of those guys. McCaffrey is going to be used a ton. If they use McCaffrey as often as they did in the regular season, can only imagine how much they're going to use him today. He's the type of guy that could have an inefficient performance, Ben, and it doesn't matter, and he still finishes with like 30. He finishes with 30 because he has 8 receptions, and it's hard to get away from him. He is a lot more expensive than everybody else, though. I look at Barkley, and I see a guy who, how you said do people not remember that the Eagles won the Super Bowl? I think sometimes people are forgetting, too, that Barkley has not had a great season. And that offensive line has not blocked for him the way that they did last year. And it has been a bit of a struggle. I look at guys like James Cook, and I can't help but think they're going to feed him as much as they can today. Josh Allen's going to have to do a lot, but I really like James Cook.
You're the James Cook whisperer. I feel like you get him right more often than not. But yeah, listen, James Cook, monster year, multiple touchdown upside, huge like Christian McCaffrey passing volume separates him, but the Bills, they will run James Cook literally as much as they need to win this game. It could be 30 carries. Like, I don't think that that's going to happen, but it's not impossible. If they're gutting them on the ground and you have to score to keep up, James Cook could have a monster game. So it's fine. The bigger question for me with James Cook is, you have the vulture candidate with Josh Allen. Do you pair them together at all? My tendency is to say not, I'm not saying never, but more likely no. And I just go James Cook has a huge day and Josh Allen is fine, but it's James Cook's team right now in those lineups.
Yeah. I could see it going both ways though. Like I could see Cook and Allen both getting it done. It's a high enough total too, to where I'm not super concerned about it. I'm all right having both of them in the lineup together. Is it my favorite play? No, it's not my favorite play, but I definitely like it.
James Cook, thank you, by the way, to Smith. He is in my anytime touchdown parlay. We have the boost. He was the first click for me. He's minus, I think it was like minus 130. I love that number for James Cook. He should have 10 red zone touches today. I don't know why he wouldn't.
Unless it's Josh Allen siphoning all of them off.
I'll live with that. That's fine.
Go check Ben's lotto parlay out on Tails, by the way. It's a free one, I assume.
It's absolutely free, boosted. I picked the anytime touchdown from each game. Yeah,
Ooh,
fun one. It's like
okay.
15-1.
Sweet. With the boost, I assume FanDuel boost. Yeah. I got a 50% super boost on Bet365. So I am going to be posting one over there on Tails right after this show is over. And that should be fun. Is that right, Zach? Ty Johnson inactive? Really? Hold on, because that's actually – hold on one second.
My best ball teams are – wow.
Ty Johnson is, in fact, inactive. Yes, he is. I'll
James
tell you
Cook
right
is
now.
going to be busy.
I'll tell you right now. I thought they would find a way for him to play. That guy never misses games. But I think that helps James Cook. I know Ty Johnson isn't heavily involved, but they do use Ty Johnson. They do use Ty Johnson in the red zone as a pass catcher. You know, they like using him. Ray Davis had a really solid week 18. I'm of the belief that Ray Davis is pretty good, but to me, this is more helpful towards Cook than it would ever be for Ray Davis in a postseason game, right? Cook was a holdout, and he has definitely come in and proven his worth. You're in the postseason now. You don't have any elite, top tier pass catchers. This makes me look like James Cook even more.
No doubt, because not that it was a nothing, but James Cook now is certainly going to be more impactful in the passing game. I think that's pretty clear. Ty Johnson is a legitimate, a good complementary pass catcher. James Cook can definitely catch the ball. It's not like he's a nothing. He's approaching McCaffrey. It's not going to be McCaffrey level through the air, but everything that he gets there now is almost a bonus.
Well, what about your thoughts then pairing him with Josh Allen now? Are you less hesitant to do so? I'm not saying it makes you love that, but are you less hesitant to do that?
Yes, because the chances that they connect on a touchdown is way higher now, I think.
Yeah, me too. Or even just on a PPR basis. You may not even need the touchdowns, but you're right. The PPR basis is less important for Allen than it is for Cook. But could they connect on a receiving touchdown, a passing touchdown? Yeah. What are you doing with Travis Etienne today? You've always I think you've had your finger on the pulse of Etienne, whereas I somehow get Travis Etienne wrong. The last time I got him very right, he scored 3 touchdowns, which was great. The problem is I didn't have Trevor Lawrence, so it ended up not even mattering because Lawrence just threw him 3 that day.
I think honestly, if I had the Aladdin genie, and I could know one person's fantasy points before the slate started, I think it would be ETN for me. I think he's the key to the slate in either direction, because if he has a huge game, there's a real chance that he could cannibalize all the Jag stacks. There's also a chance that he's in those stacks with Lawrence. And then, as you just pointed out the other day, there's also a chance that Lawrence takes some of the groundwork again, and ETN is rendered somewhat useless, far behind everybody else. So the range of outcomes for him, you never know with anybody. But to me, James Cook, McCaffrey, barring something truly unforeseen, they are going to have massive opportunities and probably pretty damn good games on a raw point standpoint. I think ETN's floor is pretty low. I still like him because I think his
No,
ceiling,
you're right. His floor is
it's
low.
his floor is like he is not in a secure role to the extent of the team is a very pretty potent offense at this point, and Lawrence has shown the ability. So his price point and the game environment keep him firmly in play. But he's the one guy where if he completely no-showed today, I wouldn't be stunned. So I'm not making a stand on him. I have a healthy amount. We're getting a healthy amount. And I'm calling it a day because I really struggle with what he does, both in the stacks and independent of Lawrence.
His floor is like 5.
Yeah, it is
Seriously.
because he could have no touchdowns. He's not a huge factor in the passing game. He turns into a decimal back at times where he really does nothing.
I know.
It's kind of crazy.
Jay, what's up, Jay Nebby? Laffy, you sound better. Did you kick that cold yet for the most part? I don't know about you guys or you, Ben. You ever have these colds? Because this wasn't too bad, but I was losing my voice. I also did like 6 hours worth of content speaking on Friday, and that just burned me up from just a voice. Where in the morning and then at night, you feel like shit. But then throughout the day, you're kind of okay, and you think you're fully back to normal, and then you lay down and you go, oh, no, never mind. This sucks. I'm still not going to be able to sleep. I get colds like that. I swear, they're like morning, night colds, and then the whole day I'm fine.
It's everywhere. I haven't
had the flu, though. That's everywhere.
No, neither have I.
Everyone's dropping.
I know. But I've had this like little lingering head cold. Yeah. It's kind of annoying.
I've been hacking nasty goo out of my chest, though.
Shout out Sean Preston, friend of the show. Good stuff.
Yeah, cool. Sounds like you're a real wait, I gave my son's Christmas present back. Expensive. What do you mean back? What do you mean you gave it back? Do you know what he means by that?
No, I didn't read that right the first time. I thought he just got a sweet computer set up. Maybe he did, but I hope that's the case.
Yeah, nice, man. It sounds like Ben and I could use one after the beginning of today's show.
I need a whole new
Now mine runs smooth.
I feel like I should be playing poker. The only time I ever wear headphones is when I'm playing poker. It's very shady.
I thought he was saying he got his son a Christmas gift and then he took it back, just like, hey, you know what? Give me that. I want it now. And then his son got him a really nice one. So now he had 2. But yeah. Anyway. Other running backs here. Trevion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson. Actually, no, I need your thoughts on McCaffrey and Barkley first. I kind of told you where I stand there.
McCaffrey's simple. Best floor of any player on the slate, bar none, in my opinion. Could get there even without getting there. If he scores, he's going to get there. Even if he doesn't, there's a chance he gives you 20 and you escape. Mm-hmm. Like, not ideal, but you can work around that.
And it's a 3-gamer. Like, this isn't even comparable to all of these short slates with Jahmyr Gibbs and stuff, where Gibbs ends up giving you 8. And you look back and like, well, it's not that surprising. They move the ball around to everybody, and they have 2 guys that can get fed in the backfield. McCaffrey's involvement, what did he average this year? 25 touches a game. I don't. It's off the top of my head, but it was clearly
busy,
or not touches, but opportunities. Just insane numbers. Yeah, there's enough there. There's enough there. And
yeah,
but Barkley's the one to me that. You talk about a floor, and Barkley's floor isn't as low as Travis Etienne, right? Because that's just a different offense. And he's going to get a lot of touches today. Like Barkley, I don't know what his rushing attempts prop is. My guess is it's like 19.5 or something really, really high, right? I'll tell you right now, Saquon Barkley's rushing attempt prop is 19.5. Yeah, it's 19.5 on the rushing attempt prop. Cook is at 18.5. To your point, Etienne at 14.5. And then you get to some of these other guys. Barkley's still up there. McCaffrey's 18.5, but his reception prop's going to be like 5 or 6.5 or something insane like that. Where does Barkley land for you? Because you say you're okay getting with the field on Etienne. You're not going to take a stand. We both agree that James Cook, especially with Ty Johnson out, ends up looking pretty damn good. McCaffrey is just, it goes without saying, pretty self-explanatory there. We'll wrap up running back with Ramondre and with Henderson, but what about Barkley, man? Are you taking a stand here in one direction or the other? I think it's tough.
It's definitely tough. The stand would be that I'm going to be, I'd say, pretty confidently underweight. And it's not that I don't like the play, it's that I like James Cook and I like McCaffrey. And I think that the New England running backs, particularly Travion, have a fine ceiling. I don't know exactly what's going on with them, and Ramondre is running crazy hot with touchdowns. He could replicate that. There's no doubt about it. But Saquon, at times it feels like Saquon is honestly drawing to a long touchdown run. And that does concern me at times in these short slates. So it's Saquon. Will I have 0%? Of course not. I'm going to have exposure to him. But I prefer, if I had to play one lineup, McCaffrey and James Cook would be much bigger priorities for me if I was filling out my running back position.
Between Henderson and Ramondre, you prefer Henderson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ramondre's coming off a huge game, but I do like Henderson more in this spot as well. His rushing plus receiving prop is close to 20 yards higher than Stevenson today. There's no real preferred option in goal-to-go situations. I'm with you. So we'll go to wide receivers. But how would you prioritize it? Here's a fun one. Go ahead and just give me your top 5 on a 3-game slate. Give me your top 5 running backs in order of preference here.
McCaffrey, Cook, Henderson, ETN, and Saquon.
Okay, Saquon 5.
It's, again, I'm talking, you're factoring in ownership price, like not just who I think's the best running back, but
sure.
Relative. Yeah.
At wide receiver, man, I'll tell you, this is a type of weird spot where I think a lot of it is just the attachment to your quarterback, which, Josh, is why we spent so much time talking about quarterbacks to start the show. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, we both like Hurts. The San Francisco 49ers do not have a pass rush. They do not have a quality pass rush. Does that mean they can't get home today? No. The Eagles' offensive line has shown weaknesses. There's clear chinks in the armor there that didn't exist last season. There's no denying that. But also, this is a team that's been playing without Lane Johnson. They are a way different team when Lane Johnson is on the field. Way, way different team. And Lane Johnson's going to play. Landon Dickerson is going to play. They're getting the offensive line back, which is a big deal. San Francisco, fewest sacks in the league, 29th in pass rush win rate. Like, if you take all of the metrics there, whether it's pressure, sacks, you name it, that has been an issue. So if Hurts has time to throw the ball to guys like Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, who can come down with virtually anything, I like it, man. And Dallas Goedert as well. All 3 of these guys today slotting into a lot of my lineups. If the offense ends up being disastrous under Kevin Patullo and my day is over and the Eagles lose, the silver lining is that they get rid of Kevin Patullo. And there are going to be a lot of potential, I'm speaking selfishly here, offensive coordinator positions out there that they can pick up next year, and not some in-house unknown that ends up being terrible. So I look at it that way. I'm trying to prepare myself for failure, Ben, because this offense has struggled all year long. But in a playoff game at home as near 6-point favorites, I really do like Brown. I like Devontae, and I like Dallas Goedert as well.
Yeah, I have no problem with any of that. For me, I'll just run through it. I get that the Jags wide receivers are all very reasonably priced. I'd say Myers is these are all relative terms, the safest. Parker Washington is probably the guy that's the most interesting in the sense he grades out the best. And then Brian Thomas, to me, has clearly the most risk and is the bigger wild card on the team. You have Diggs, seems very solid. I like Shakir. I don't think that it's just because Palmer is out and Ty Johnson is out. That's not enough. But it does start to solidify it a little. And this is the playoffs. And he's the type of guy, the reception should be racking up underneath. And if he PPR floor at that price point, I like Shakir. I'm overweight on him. The hardest team is the Chargers. I have no idea what to do with Ladd, Keenan Allen, who grades out the best, Quentin Johnson, Gadsden. Really difficult to decipher. They're all playable. I worry about playing the roulette game with the Chargers today.
There's just, I mean, I would rather just go to Gadsden, honestly, because he's the cheapest.
Sure.
And the Patriots have been most vulnerable at the tight end position too. You know? Clayton, Laffy, you still like that Goddard anytime touchdown? Nothing changed, man. I mean, look, touchdowns, it's hard to predict. But did you see my Tails post on Dallas Goedert for the touchdown play?
I did.
The fact that, do people know this? That only Devontae Adams had more receiving touchdowns than Goddard this year? And we joke about Devontae Adams being the goal line back. So is Dallas Goedert. Listen to this. He has 11 touchdowns. Look where they came from. 1 yard, 2 yard, 2 yard, 3 yard, 4, 5, 6, then a 15, 17, and 33. How insane is that? They use him on the shovel passes. They use him on fake tush pushes. They use him on play action. They literally use him everywhere at the goal line. He's going to play a ton. He's talented. I got him at 2-1. I posted this a few days ago. What's today? The 10th or the 11th? The 11th. I posted this on the 7th. Yeah, I do still like this spot. And the Niners have struggled to defend tight ends in the red zone as well. So yeah, I like Goddard quite a bit today, Ben.
No problem with that. I'm going to run through a couple of super chats. We got clarification here. Gave his present back. I wouldn't use it. He knew my computer was way old, so he bought me a new one. Allen, 3 running backs viable. I still think it's Cook or pass. I'm not playing Ray Davis at all.
Wait, what does that even mean?
What?
Allen, 3 running backs.
Or maybe he means a lineup like that. If you mean playing a third running back in the flex, yeah, absolutely.
Or Allen, I don't know, 3 run backs maybe?
No, I thought he meant running backs.
What, like Allen with 3 running backs that aren't on Buffalo?
Yeah, that's what I was assuming.
Oh, okay.
Ryan, appreciate it. FanDuel GPP, Jacoby and Henry or Keenan and Kittle. I would rather have the first one, Jacoby and Henry. I like both of them today.
Are those the 2 super chats? We got anything else?
Shay Gilly. Is there a way to filter out only my Buffalo QB plus 3s?
So if you go into, if you go in the lineups and you go to stack, right? Contains, and then you could do +3 here, and then you could add filter, and then lineup contains Allen, and then you could see all of those and get rid of them that way. It's actually very simple. So yes, there is a way you can do that. Just go into lineup filters here, or if you wanted to, you could go into stack type here, right? And then filter it there. That's all you got to do. At wide receiver, though, what's that?
No, I'm sorry. We had a couple questions about Shavers. I think he's just in the bucket of randos, honestly. Cooks, Shavers, Gabe Davis. If Booty sits, I guess New England will have some randos. Hard to decipher.
Especially against a good secondary for the Chargers. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to play. I mean, really, if he ends up not playing, if Kayshon Boutte ends up being out of this game, what are you looking at? Probably just like Kyle Williams to me would probably become more viable, right? I would look towards a Kyle Williams in a spot like this. I don't know how often you need to do that, but that's probably what I would look towards. That's a night game, which makes things a little bit difficult. Yeah, we have a little Douglas here down here at 1%. 9% Kayshon Boutte. That's under the assumption that he plays. So I don't know. That's another tough team, though. Even Stephon Diggs, we're getting 31% of him. If you look at what Stephon Diggs has done this year, he's actually been very, very pedestrian in most games. Like he'll pop off for a couple of games, but for the most part, you want to talk about a guy who has just not been the clear de facto number 1, yet he is the second most expensive wide receiver on this slate. Not to say he's super expensive, but yeah, he had back-to-back 25 fantasy point games. He had 3 games with less than 6 prior to that. Then 22, 15, 12, 10, 13, 5, 27, 19, 5, 7, 11. I like Diggs today, but I'm not looking at Diggs as somebody that I just need to jam in at every opportunity I get. I do prefer, and of course, this is just our opinions, but I do prefer A.J. Brown. The problem is, though, if you're saying, all right, well, then who else do you prefer? There aren't that many great options. Brian Thomas Jr. is suspect. Jacoby Myers is good, but Parker Washington's been so involved, and that guy's good. Like, Parker Washington's legitimately good at this point. We're getting a lot of Washington and Myers. That game has such a high total. Diggs, Smith, Khalil Shakir, who, as disappointing as he's been at times, I do still like him today. I know you like him. I believe you may have a bet on Khalil Shakir.
I do.
Yeah, and then you get into the Niners pass catchers. Those are some tough matchups. Whoever's going up against, I had Dory Jackson, fine. But aside from that, it's a tough spot.
It is. Again, to me, wide receiver is extremely condensed today. Where you like yesterday, I know it was only 2 games, but you had Puka, and it was like, well, he's far. Like, who's the best wide receiver on this slate? A.J. Brown?
I think so,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, but like, I would agree with that.
But it's not Puka Nacua. It's not JSN. It's not Jamar Chase.
Yeah, the chances that A.J. Brown is the top wide receiver scorer is infinitely lower than if Puka was on this slate.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's very condensed. So
what would you say is that? All right, ready? If you had betting odds, right, and it was most fantasy points, and it's the whole field for Sunday, what are the implied odds that say like AJ Brown, right? So he'd probably be first, but
yeah,
but
like
what are you looking
10%?
at? What?
10%?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
right.
It's crazy. Like it's very, very, very difficult. So, but that's an opportunity. You can really mix and match, and I don't think you have to really say, okay, this guy comes, with this stack, he's loaded in no matter what. I don't play it like that. Hurts, obviously, the +2s are going to be very, very lucrative if you get that right. But for me, that's the beauty of this slate. You can play the stacks themselves very different with the same team.
I'm kind of leaning more into chat's opinion on Brandon Cooks today. If you need to get cheap, I don't love him
a little.
Well,
yeah.
But here's how I see it. I don't love him, but do I prefer him over Pop Douglas? Do I prefer him over Trey Harris, Demarcus Robinson? I do, because there's so much uncertainty with the Bills pass catchers. It's such a high total. They have, I believe, the highest total on the slate. If not, it's up there. It's last I looked, it was like 26, 27 and a half, 26 and a half. And you don't really know what they intend on doing there with that offense. We saw him heavily involved, multiple deep shots against a good Philly secondary just 3 weeks ago. Am I going to get a lot of Brandon Cooks? No, but do I understand why people in chat were talking about him? I absolutely do. I do. I get it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Again, it's still 3 games. You have to make some. If you're leaving money on the table, sure, but if you're not, that's the type of player that can be different. A couple quick ones. Shout out to the American Vision. $2,000 yesterday, second on FanDuel. Hope you run that back today. And Laffy, you had a super chat from Denny Diamonds. If I'm trying to limit a player exposure in The Sims, is it best to cap exposure or de-boost until I get there?
It depends. I typically, if it's a certain spot, I'm going to cap them, but it really depends.
I would cap.
Yeah, I would likely just cap somebody. Just don't go overboard with some of that stuff, right? Because the lineups you're getting, are all going to be a result of that, and it's possible that they sim out a lot worse. So just keep an eye on what you're doing. Any other wide receivers you want to get to that we haven't talked about yet? I know you mentioned the Chargers. I'm mostly in agreement with you there. Is it possible that guys like Allen or McConkey or Quentin Johnston could get there? Obviously, yeah, and it happens. But if I'm if I'm going Herbert, that's the one spot where I'd probably prefer a skinny stack over anything else. Would be, believe it or not, Herbert over Allen.
I would agree. I think Herbert's best chance is truly running for his life tonight. So, yeah, I'm fine with that. Tight end's literally the same story. You have very condensed. You don't have a Trey McBride. You don't have a Bowers. For me, I like Hunter Henry and Goddard. And then for salary relief, even though it's not that much different, I'm fine with Gadsden and Strange. But I have 2 tight end lineups because if you do that, you can really, really hammer the high end running backs and really do whatever you want at quarterback as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. Super chat from Sir, I don't know how to say that. Sir Mackie loves pie. God is good. Agreed, sir. You got to capitalize the G though. If you're going to do that, you can't go lowercase G in God, right, Ben? No, I'm saying like,
I'm not up on the latest punctuation with the spirits, but
really?
good.
You don't know that? Like if you're saying even him or something or he or whatever, it's all capitalized. All right.
I didn't know that.
I know you know this. I'm 100%. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You're not. Yes, I know you know this. Anyway, let's talk about tight ends. And this isn't going to be long because I already told you the guys I like. Gadsden, I think, is the preferred option for the Chargers for me because he's very cheap. And I do think the Patriots have some weaknesses at that position. By the way, Spags and Eric are waiting behind the scenes. They'll be here in a second. I do like Kincaid, 3,800 sub 4K. No problem with that. If this game shoots out, Kincaid has a nose for the end zone. Allen likes him there. The problem is he's just never healthy. When he's healthy, is a 2-touchdown game in play for Kincaid? Absolutely. I like Goddard for all the reasons I mentioned before. Hunter Henry's 4,500. Totally get that spot. Kittle's the one I'm having a tough time with because if you're going Kittle, your lineups and your builds are going to look, this is what we'll end on unless you have anything else you want to add. Your builds look so much different than literally any other tight end you go with if George Kittle is slotted in at the position. Think about that. There's no one else even above, 4,500?
And it's weird because this is one of these situations, the 3-game slate allows me to say this. I think that George Kittle is overpriced, but I kind of like that he's overpriced because if you have a multiple touchdown game, your price is basically irrelevant on a 3-game slate. You're getting there. And I'm hoping that I can get away with not having a ton of exposure to Kittle, but enough that if he does have those ceiling games, I'm in a good position because I strongly prefer paying down at tight end today. And Kittle is on a weird island. I don't like Purdy, so he's not going to be in my stacks. But yeah, I actually wish he was like, I know it sounds crazy, but like 7,000 because he would be very low owned then, and I could keep the same ownership and get more leverage where the floor games kill me, but I don't really care about the floor on a $6,200 guy because if he doesn't play well, I'm completely screwed anyway.
2 tight end optimal today.
I agree.
Yeah, it could be. If you look at our exposures right now, we have a decent amount of 2 tight end lineups. Ben, do the mental math for me right here, right? They're all on the page. Sure. What are we looking at? How many 2 tight end lineups? You'll do this. You'll compute this quicker than I would.
What am I looking at?
Well, I guess not. I guess not.
You want me to sum the exposures?
Yeah,
here?
because I can do it in my head, but I know you'll do it quicker than I will. The problem is me having to explain to you what I'm looking for.
Sorry, 114, 132, yeah. So it's about 150%.
So half of our lineups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't see. I'm sorry.
Yes. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Anything else at tight end you want to hit on before we get out of here? Anything else in general?
No, listen, I truly don't think it's worth talking about defense. All 6 defenses are in play. Just play whatever you like. It's very negligible. You can do basically anything there. And no, I'm interested to see what the fellas right after us have to say. Of course, if you want some bets, I'm going to be betting these games. I'm going to be hitting games live. So we'll see you over at Tails as well. And there's a great 3-game slate. I cannot wait to see these games. I hope for people that have teams still alive, whether it's the Birds or the Jag, whoever you're rooting for, I hope your teams get through. And I'm excited to see the games. Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, man. We'll see you guys back here soon.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, hit us up over on Tails, baby. This prop professional has been killing it lately. Check the leaderboards
There's
out.
some people that I've never heard of before they joined that I follow religiously now. And I capitalize their name.
I know.
Yeah.
And a lot of the picks are free. So check them out over there. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of the day. I'll be back here tomorrow. Strategy show. Spags and I will be here tomorrow, live before lock for Houston and Pittsburgh. Ben and I, first look show. We're not going anywhere. Still a lot of football to talk about. Stick around. Eric and Spags coming up right now.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to NFL Live Before Lock, presented by Tails and Stochastic. I'm Eric Lindquist, ready to rock here on this 3-game slate. I'm, of course, alongside my buddy Chris Spags. Go follow him at Chris Spags. Go follow the Splash Play podcast over on YouTube. That is a super easy thing you can do to support me, to support Spags, to support us, because it is truly collective. We're like the what is it? The Borg? Is that what it was back in the Star Trek day?
Pluribus. We're everybody's watching
yes.
Pluribus, right? Yeah, we're that. We're all a hive mind working together.
We are happy. We are happy this morning.
I'm John Cena, and you're I don't know, someone who sucks on that show. You're the guy that's sleeping with all the AI characters.
Carrying shit into the grocery store. I'm just like that bitch in the back. That's me. Hi.
Great show though.
Download the Tails app while you guys are at it. Lofty just had it on screen, so I'm not going to dilly-dally. You guys already know. Tails is a super awesome spot where you can get a ton of analysis. I was throwing out some DFS analysis, talking through 3 plays that all exist on this slate that had some late swap implications. We got some news before this. Lots of great ways that you can support this channel, but super easy one, hitting the like button. Super easy one, following Splash Play for my guy Chris Spags, and then downloading the Tails app. Those are all free opportunities for you to help us out a little bit. Not a lot, baby girl, just a little bit. We're going to head to the slate in a little bit, but first, Spags, how are you feeling about this 3-gamer? Because I love it.
I mean, I was going to make a joke up top about wearing all black today for the funeral of Drake May. I think it's finally, I'm hoping it's the end of the road for that one, especially with how much Chargers D you're getting, I think, with all the data out there. But in reality, I'm a little worried that, like, I kind of think it's becoming a chalky take that everybody's like, it's Drake May's going to hit the skids against the Chargers. And, like, I see the numbers here. I really do think, and I've said it a lot this year, really think Drake May, the Patriots have beaten up on paper Tigers all year long. They have gotten, you guys know the deal at this point. It's one of the softest schedules in football. My old also used friends in quotes, Aaron Schatz from formerly Football Outsiders, now over at another site doing the DVOA stuff, has pointed out the Patriots probably one of the worst DVOA teams of a team that's had the results they've had this year. This is a spot that I think the rubber meets the road, but I kind of feel like it's become a popular take. Like everybody's flipped on the Drake May MVP stuff. They all went to Matthew Stafford's way. That drive yesterday, everyone's like, oh, Stafford could do this, but Drake May, could he? And I kind of worry that I'm the chalk donkey here, and everybody thinks the Patriots are going to shit the bed tonight, and they're just going to stop the Chargers, and I'll be completely wrong about the one thing I've been dying on the hill of for like months now.
I mean, what's really a bummer is that the Chargers are as dinged up as they are. I mean, not just before the season, Rashawn Slater, and then during the season, Joe Alt, 2 of the best tackles in football. But the Amar and Hampton thing is kind of interesting for our slate, which kind of gets us into the Sims. And I'm not going to be doing the single lineup sim today purely because I do think the construction of your lineups matters more than going player by player and being able to say, oh, AJ Brown's playing this ownership, that ownership. I'd rather have you see how we put the portfolio together, how I put my 150 lineups in the mini-max, how I'm making 20 max in the $3, how I'm going to go about my process on how I'm personally playing this 3-gamer. I played a ton on the 6-gamer. I'm going to try not to bring Houston, Pittsburgh into this too much, but Spags, the fact of the matter is McCaffrey's going to pull a ton of ownership. AJ Brown's going to pull a ton of ownership. We're looking for unique lineups, unique lineup constructions, and that's where you see at the top of your screen here, we got a lot of QB plus 4s that are showing up. Your New England stuff. And then, yes, Chargers start to show up with no run backs in a couple of spots. I'm just worried the Chargers get no running game going, and we are in massive, massive trouble in regards to I could see New England just being able to shut this one out pretty quickly too. So it's a really good draw, I think, for them getting the Chargers in the first round. So as much as I want to back you there, I'm kind of going to probably be on the New England side.
For DFS wise, I'm definitely playing enough of both. I made sure to get minimum 10% of Herbert and Brock Purdy for the 2 guys that I feel like we're not coming up enough naturally. Drake May, not my highest exposed QB. That's going to be Jalen Hurts. Spoiler alert for this slate, because I think that Buffalo Jacksonville game to me, I'll be there about 20% for both those QBs, but I feel like that game, and to me, cash game of the week, like Trevor Lawrence industry-wide projections, possibly as your QB everywhere. Obviously, the big total in that game, the only game this week with a total over 50, I believe. That's one where, people are going to flock to that spot a little bit more. So trying to get the other QBs makes sense. So I am playing Drake May today, but I still think, for my personal bias here, I think the Chargers should be the spot where we really find out what Drake May has, whether he succeeds tonight or not. And one thing that stands out to me too is this New England team. I talk about EPA a lot, so I think the most important metric in football for deciphering how to understand how teams perform above league average or relative league average overall. And New England has run so hot in EPA this year to the point where green across my sheet that's conditionally formatted to the gills. Drake May, a 0.27 EPA per dropback, 0.28 EPA per pass. Stephon Diggs is here, a 0.7 EPA per target. For comparison, he was really good in the Bills a couple years ago. He's like 0.35. Kayshon Boutte, 0.7 EPA per target. Like, they're efficient across the board in such a way where it feels like, to me, just knowing these numbers, looking at them year after year, they're due to crater. But that's enough about this one game. But I really think it's such a weird aberration, this New England year. I really want to see what happens when they are in a spot where it's like, this matters, because we saw versus Buffalo, they did okay once, maybe not so okay the second time. But that's the game I'm really the most curious about on the slate.
Don't worry about hammering home a game or a point too much. We have 49 minutes remaining on this show. Sure. I think we'll be just fine with 3 games as opposed to, 16 that we had on week 18 live before lock. This is a little bit better. Just going to throw it out there. Yeah. 16 games last Sunday. I guess we broke down 15 of them for that main slate. And you know what? Every team's trying. Every team, we know that they're going to get the absolute best of what they've got here. We're going to go position by position like we always do, but wanted to do things on this screen here for you purely because I think it makes more sense than going to the single lineup sim where I'm just simply sharing ownership. I'd rather have you see how we're putting some of this together. Player ROI, we have stack ROI individually, which I think is a very interesting breakdown as we get into some of the QB3s, some of the QB1, who's actually showing up there. Josh Allen, worse on the 3-game slate than I expected to in the QB1 department. And we'll get into some of the ins and outs of that, but let's go over to the exposures and the quarterbacks. We only have a couple of them to be dicing through here today. Obviously, one is not showing up on your screen, but that's because Brock Purdy has to play the Eagles. And we'll see. Trent Williams, if he ends up playing here, and it sounds like he's going to, how effective can he be? He is one of the most impactful, important players in football. Look at some of the splits on off for him on the field for San Francisco. It's insane. I'll probably boost while we're on this show a little bit of Purdy to get there, but it really comes down to, what are you doing here at the top end? Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. I think these are 2 guys that are very, very impactful. Trevor Lawrence, I'm just going to be at the field no matter what. I can't really poke holes in what Buffalo's done against the pass this season. I've looked far and wide. Trevor Lawrence has been absolutely what the kids call on fire, in fuego. But how do you feel about the expensive Josh Allen up here at $7K on a 3-game slate where you might have to pair him with some really uncomfortable QB+2 type lineups, and they look gross on this slate, Spags?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Trevor Lawrence, like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure he's going to be your cash game QB if you were to put all the industry-wide projections out there and just, how people view these guys for the most part. And frankly, the fact that Trevor Lawrence is 6,100, Josh Allen's 7K. For Josh Allen, I think that sort of makes it more interesting. The fact that the sim being low on him doesn't make you feel awesome. And the lineups I just got here, he's got about a 13% exposure in the top 150, Fields at 23. But I do think if you're considering playing that Buffalo-Jacksonville game, I think going to Josh Allen, to me, just seems like a decent move. Jags defense has been really good, and it's one of the things that makes me think might be scoring, like, there might be 50 points in this game. I do wonder if the scoring is going to be weird because it's 2 defenses that are, minus 0.13 EPA per dropback for Jacksonville, minus 0.1 EPA per dropback for Buffalo allowed on their defense. These are pretty good defenses. So I think with Trevor Lawrence, I mean, maybe he sees his floor a little bit more in Josh Allen. We get old Josh Allen that does run more aggressively, does, find guys out of system a little bit more. But I think it's just really, to me, like, that game seems really owned. If you want to play that game, I would try the Josh Allen way a little bit more. But definitely the data does seem to support Trevor Lawrence. I just think he's the most obvious play on the slate, and I think people will go there pretty frequently.
Yeah, it's just a price probability kind of thing, a little bit in the betting streets where it's just like, all right, 1.5 touchdowns looking at the market. There is like even money, I think, available over at Bet365. I kind of was doing my due diligence this morning, tried to update some of that stuff. I am on the James Cook side of things. That is for damn sure. We'll get there. But Trevor Lawrence, I don't have an issue with it. It's just simply, don't you beat Buffalo on the ground? I feel like 2 teams we've talked about repeatedly this season that it's just like, okay, you want to have some success against them, against the Eagles, you better find a way to get the ground game going. And against Buffalo, you better find a way to get the ground game going, because if you have to force, into coverage, Buffalo is going to kill you. And so I don't know what we get here in terms of ownership from Trevor Lawrence, considering he is the cash game quarterback. We've seen routinely a little bit of a spike in what that ownership can be at times, but yeah, he feels like a comfortable click. I have no problem with it. And as you can see, simulating out pretty well in the QB+3, QB+2, like a lot of his stack partners, but I'm going to be going a lot more to the Allen side, I think, in my massive allotment here. This is ran factory settings here over on the sim, so don't want people to think that what you're seeing on screen is exactly what I'm doing, but Jalen Hurts, this is the guy that is pulling the most ownership in the Sims right now. We're double the field in our 150 allotment here. I ran that 25% to first, ran it with the standard settings. And I don't know how I feel about Jalen Hurts there, but I do know that the 49ers are decrepit. They have been all season long on the defensive side of things, Spags. When you're playing backups, it's usually a good thing to be playing the quarterback going up against them, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I mean, the Niners are getting a little bit healthier as the season's gone on, but the total is definitely favoring Philadelphia here at the 25.3 implied points. Not quite as good as Jacksonville at their 26 and change, but a little bit ahead of where Buffalo is. And I get it for Hurts. I mean, the matchup going against the Niners, you are talking about the worst secondary, I think, out of this entire playoff round. I took off the games from yesterday already, but I'm pretty sure they're at least right dead even with Carolina as the bottom of this entire round. But 0.12 EPA per drop back allowed, 0.13 EPA per pass. And then in my data, I also chop it up where it's like short throws under 20 air yards, 20 plus air yards, man, zone, pressure, no pressure. They're bad in every facet of football. So that's something where I do think Jalen Hurts in this spot where part of the issue for Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, having watched enough Eagles, and I'd actually be curious Lafi's thoughts. We can't bring him back in the show. But I feel like Jalen Hurts just doesn't like to push things if he doesn't have to. In this spot, we're now in the playoffs. We're in a situation where you are going against the Niners team that kind of like the Bears yesterday. They're not going to go easily. They're not going to go quietly into the night, even though, they might get beat down a little bit in this game based on the total. I'm not sold on that either. I think for Jalen Hurts is a spot where he can't just let the defense do their work because they're going to keep coming at him. They're going to keep, the Niners are going to keep trying to push the ball offensively. Purdy can make mistakes. He's thrown some really egregious picks this year, but I don't think he's as bad of a QB. I was surprised to hear how down Ben and Lafi were on Purdy. I think he is to me, the ultimate game manager. And I would say, elevated a little bit above that this year when he has played in the 8 or 9 games that he has been out there. But in this spot, like Jalen Hurts, I like this situation a good amount. Again, it's a really good, passing matchup. And frankly, I know Stochastic loves Saquon Barkley. I got him 70% of the top 150 I ran here with no tweaks on my end. I do not love Saquon Barkley. I really think this was the year I thought we were getting last year. I think he ran incredibly hot last year with Kellen Moore calling the plays, and the offensive line clearly did open a lot more. He was the guy getting the most yards for contact last year, I think 3 yards for contact. Nobody else is even close to that. This year, it's so much worse. But, why are we all flocking to play Saquon? We just had an entire year of him shitting every spot that was possible. The Niners are not a good defense in the run game either, giving up a flat 0 EPA. That's league average. They're the team you want to attack through the air. So to me, getting away from Saquon, getting more to the pass game looks good. But the Sims just seemingly think Eagles, just give you Eagles left and right. And I get that too.
I get the Eagles thing. There's one guy specifically on the Eagles. If I were going to have a nuke of the night, it would be Devonta Smith in this spot. Devonta Smith should just go berserk. Plus, there's so many lineups that you're able to build out, have A.J. Brown. You're able to just global swap it to Devonta Smith in some of those lineups. And I kind of plan to do that if late swap pans out a certain way here based on information from the first game, which I guess is another fun thing to talk about in terms of quarterbacks. As you can see right now, we've got Jalen Hurts, the highest owned, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen next, and May and Herbert sitting there in the evening window. There is no Brock Purdy in my top 150 as of right now, but Spags, this is a rolling slate. These are generally the ones that I do the best on purely because I'm always trying to account for new information, not just injury news, which Omarion Hampton is definitely a big part of this slate for me because on a 3-gamer, you could get Vidal at 4,700, and I think he'd be one of the best point per dollar plays, not just at the running back position, but in general. And if we get Parker Washington news and he doesn't go completely berserk at the wide receiver position right at 5K, if we get news on some of these cheapy Buffalo guys, and we can kind of figure out what we want to do with our lineups there, we're also getting information on these 2 quarterbacks. And I'm going to ask you, if we get to the flip, and currently, I'm just going to pull this up over here on the side, we've got Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence accounting for just about 50% of the quarterback position. It's going to matter what you have in terms of those stacks that come along for the ride. But if you got 25 out of Trevor Lawrence, would you want to get to more or less Jalen Hurts based on it? I guess I'm not explaining this perfectly. Excuse me. What is your game plan in terms of late swap based on how Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen play? Josh Allen puts up 30, Josh Allen puts up 10. What are some of your thoughts about late swap on today's slate? Because there's so many ways and so many pieces that you can change, to a Brock Purdy, where you are completely different from the field. Oh, mute button. Mute. You are muted. Unless. Hello? What is happening? Spags? Spags. You're muted. You're muted. Muted.
Oh, I touched the mic. That's my bad.
Fuck.
I was given all sorts of sick burns too. Okay, so let's take it back, guys. Let's pretend I wasn't muted here. Eric, I love your Jehovah's Witness approach to late swap, where the fact you just knock on the door and say, this was what you guys missed out on. I had a great bit and everything, but you preached the good word of late swap. For me, I am not a late swap guy as much because I spend so much time before the show really laboring to get my lineups where I want them to be, trying to kind of get them so they're not looking like everybody else is out there. But for the spot today, I don't want to swap things around too much. I think if I see the ownership, unless it's like egregious, but I've got Jalen Hurts in about 30% of my lineups. I feel good about where that is. I don't want to get quite to the 43% Stochastic has because I do want to get to Herbert, want to get to Purdy, want to get to May enough as well. It does seem like in the Stochastic data, you are sacrificing those three at the altar of the big three because you're getting Herbert 6%, Drake May 6%, Purdy 2%. I just feel like on a slate like this where, it's a playoff situation, and these guys can really get there, I kind of want to get at least 10% of those bottom tier QBs. So this spot to me, I don't foresee, wanting to swap around too much, barring, like you mentioned, somebody getting ruled out unexpected or anything like that. But I understand that's your advantage. So I'm curious if you have thoughts on it because I just am not the late swap. I'm not as good at it as you are, to be real about it. So it's not a focal point for me usually.
No, it was just to get people's minds going because things can change. And obviously how your simulations are going to change a little bit based on what has already happened. Like if we get a 35 spot out of Josh Allen, it's going to be a pretty decent score that's hard to really surpass, but there's ways that you can make those lineups different below it where you could get 25 out of Justin Herbert and still be pretty effective. Still have ways of trimming down some of the ownership. You're going to need a big game elsewhere in your lineup that's attached to something, but I'm always thinking about the late swap element on these three gamers that spread out all the way throughout the day because not enough people are going in and changing things. So I guess for me, it was just simply talking about some of the range of outcomes of what we get from this 51.5 total game from these two quarterbacks early, and then some of the other things that you can do to change it. And obviously when you don't see Brock Purdy on your screen, that is somebody that I might use as a safety valve in lineups if the game goes to like a 70 total for Buffalo Jacksonville. And I'm just sitting there with all the Jalen Hurts and I know how chalky that's going to be. That's kind of the idea I was getting at. But
no, that makes sense. I mean, look, I don't plan for disaster, Eric. I don't practice fucked. What's the Tom Moore quote with?
I don't know. You were quoting the president from Independence Day. I don't know if anybody else heard it. I did. That seems like a disaster scenario. Aliens invading, having to sit around Area 51 and just.
I'm talking about the Tom Moore quote that was floating around this week. The guy who got retired, quote unquote, at 87 from the Bucks or whatever. And he used to say, they were asked him at one point, oh, why don't you practice the backups at all with what if Peyton Manning goes down?
I don't practice fucked.
Yeah, he said, if 18 goes down, we're fucked. And we don't practice fucked. That's how I feel about my lineups usually. But I do think you're right to think about it in advance. For me, it's if I were to lose the money, I would go all right, well, I guess this isn't my sleep. That's not the best gambling approach. So I appreciate you bringing it to the people.
That's how people feel when I'm hosting shows. You're getting the fucked version. All right, Sean Preston, $5. Allen +3 running backs? ? Yes, definitely. Spags, get that pup in a money hat. LOL, or make one. Yeah, get on your threading game, my guy. Can you sew?
It's not puppet me. It's puppet Lindquist. So he has to dress like this little cuck that he is. He has to wear this little boy outfit that he has. He can't wear a money hat. He hasn't earned that.
Your dog's not around. I can tell.
She's right there. She's actually she saw me pick up the pup and she's advancing towards me. But no, we are not. Oh, no. She turned 1 yesterday, by the way. Happy birthday, kid.
Hey, chat. Happy birthday. Stop eating me. Great show, guys. Thanks for the hard work. Eric, good job, son. Thanks, Dad. Really appreciate that. That'd be cool if it was my dad giving the super chat, but you think he's proud of me doing this every day? Absolutely not. Matt Corsetti, 88, member for 50 months. I should talk about that in therapy. Hurts triple stacks or Allen triple stacks? Great question. As of right now, it's the Hurts triple stacks. You can't reverse engineer your lineups in late swap. That's another thing to always think about. But Allen triples, man, there's 1.5 guys that I like from the Buffalo side to pair him with today. Everything else gets dusty. It is so dusty down there with these wide receivers. How do you feel about triple stacks for Allen in general, Spags?
It'll be unique if you can get that
Yeah.
right. If you want to roll the 15-sided die like it's a Stranger Things finale, then you can do that with Josh Allen.
Oh my
I'm
God.
not fine. That one wasn't muted too, so we're killing it. I think for
Go
how
us.
yeah, I'd go the Hurts side of things. I do think the AJ Brown, Devontae Goddard triple gonna be decently worn ground. I do think the Hurts plus Saquon, two of the receivers, probably going to be pretty decently trod ground. But I do really like Hurts to Devontae to Goddard is my favorite. I'm going on a limb with a lot of shit today. It's my favorite double stack the slate is just to go to those two, get some leverage on AJ Brown. It is a zone heavy matchup. Not that AJ Brown can't smash versus zone, but he's so much better versus man.
Correct.
These guys at least are kind of close to him in zone, and AJ Brown is just coming up everywhere. So to me, I would go the Hurts triple side pretty easily.
Yep, talked about this earlier. $1,000 less to go to Devonta Smith. One thing I am going to do, almost like for sure, is using information from the first game and pivoting from AJ Brown to Devonta Smith and leaving the salary on the table in a lot of lineups that I feel are just toast. Like in one way, shape, or form. Like maybe the entire game's a dud and everything that's just got players sitting there is just looking like the nuts later on there, but then you're probably still wanting a defense from the first game, but that's neither here nor there. I'm completely with you. AJ Brown has been smashing man to man. You're going to get almost none of that here going up against San Fran, and it is going to be beautiful times to be one Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. I'm really considering betting his touchdown here as well, as we've gotten away from all this incessant tush push. That quick out to Dallas Goedert, I don't know. I saw like a flash highlight thing on X and it's just boom, boom, boom. That thing is so automatic because teams are just huddled in the middle, expecting, at the 2 or the 3 for the tush push. And well, Dallas Goedert's been the safety valve. He's not priced appropriately for it here today. So I'm completely with you. Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, please go nuts. And then if you want to put AJ Brown with that, or if you want to, get unique with something else there, or just have the Saquon, I guess would count it as a triple as well. Feel pretty good about that one relative to anything else. But anything else at quarterback you want to touch on before we get to running back?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the main thing, and it's no disparagement to stochastic data. You just have to make your own personal choices with gambling, and I think that's an important thing. I know the chat loves sometimes to tail Eric's nukes of the night and all that, and then they give you all the credit if it wins, and then they flog you if it doesn't hit. But I do think for you guys out there, you do have to make your own choices when you're going to the sim, especially. And to see Herbert, to me, be at 6%, to see May be at 6% in the top 150, to see Purdy be at 2%. I get why it would work out that way data-wise. I get, where the totals are and why things, I understand the underlying stuff. But to me, on this kind of slate where things were so congregated, you're going to have 60, maybe even 70% of your ownership on the 3 QBs. Like I played Bryce Young yesterday. I played Jordan Love yesterday. Both of those ended up being pretty decent plays. I think it ended up being Love that won it all. But I just think roll the dice with Herbert, May, and Purdy a little bit more because I don't think you're missing out on much by not getting quite as much of the very chalky Lawrence, Allen, and even Hurts at this point because like the sim's going to kind of boost that ownership. I would think even higher than the 22% he'll have naturally.
Well, 1, you're an idiot. 2, you spelled my name wrong. And 3, there's no way that if you have followed Nuke of the Night or any of my data or anything going on here at Stochastic that is directly on your screen every single one of these shows, that you haven't been profitable in some way, shape, or form over the last few months. Otherwise, you're just being a dipshit. And you should probably open up your ears, and God is good. Anyway, wanted to bring that back to the chat, too. I didn't know when I was going to thread it in, but I'm glad I did. Let's get ourselves to running back, where there is one piece of news. And every piece of news matters on these kind of slates. We've got, a Ricky Pearsall at the wide receiver position. I don't know what to make of that one entirely. You look at it, still listed questionable. He didn't practice the entire week. I'm assuming that he's out. But this one, I have no clue what to make of. Omarion Hampton, not showing up on your screen. I think he's at 6,200, a very tough ask on this slate with a number of other pieces. But Spags, Kamani Vidal could end up being a $4,700 running back option in the event that you remove him from the equation. They do not want to give Haskins or Patterson any kind of work in these spots. We've seen routinely Vidal get all of the work, actually, in these kind of situations where you had Hampton out. I think Hampton ends up active, but this is the last game of the night. There is an opportunity there for you to potentially turn Henderson or Stevenson into him in a running back spot, but in the flex, you're going to be leaving salary on the table in some way, shape, or form. So 1, do you think Hampton plays? And 2, is it something that you're accounting for in the sims at all?
I mean, I did not either get Hampton or Vidal, I think, at all. Really, like those two, that game, I'm just low on running backs. Like I didn't get much of the New England guys. I hate the matchup for the New England guys too, so it wasn't something I was going to try to address. Like the run defense for the Chargers is really good. It's the one thing that I think they stand a tier above. Negative 0.05 EPA per run play, rather, going against the Chargers defense. In the red zone, it gets even stiffer with a negative 0.2 EPA per red zone rush. I think for a team like New England that has, again, benefited a lot from soft matchups, just the facts. It's not me trying to beat up on them. Going against the Chargers here, stuff the run pretty aggressively to 22% rate. Like I think that's a tough spot. But on the other side too, like the fact that Hampton is in, I thought Vidal would be a smash play. I didn't think Hampton was going to play. He did practice at least in limited fashion on Friday, but had the entire week of not practicing. And, regular season this year, there's been like very few guys that have played after not practicing the entire week. So to see Hampton in's a bit of a surprise. If I had to guess, I think he's going to be limited. So I think Vidal kind of has a shot to be the Chuba Hubbard on the slate. It's not as a weird situation there where the Panthers just decided to not play Dowdle in this game that was so important to them. They played him a little bit, but they like Chuba more, I guess. I don't know what the deal is. For this spot for Vidal, I mean, he's a guy that's getting on the year, and it does include the time where Hampton was out. But he's at 2.7 red zone opportunities a game. Hampton's at 2.9. So, like, if you want to go there, you can. But I do think these guys kind of make it so it's hard to get to the other. And in this spot, like, I'd rather play Cook, ATN, McCaffrey, take up 3 spots there. You can play a running back and not worry about sort of these dice roll situations. You may get there, but like, I don't think Chuba made winning lineups yesterday. I might be misremembering things. So I don't know that you actually win as much as you do or you think you do on a slate like this where you have so many guys and you have James Cook with no Ty Johnson. I just don't know you need to even try to decipher this.
Yeah, we got a lot of for the 6 gamer, it's Coker, it's Puka, and then if you could have had Jordan Love by himself or along with Romeo Dobbs, you're in a really good spot. Colson Loveland probably going to be a must at this point in time for that one too. Lots of stuff that I was running before this show trying to get my lineups in a good position so I could jump on this and just focus on this 3 gamer. And on this 3 gamer, I'm with you. I think that there's definitely a case to be made for just jamming those other guys. But when you get a $4,700 featured back potentially added to the fray that isn't being accounted for in the Sims, I thought I would lead off with it there purely because people love to get on these shows and hear, hey, where are you getting different? What are you doing that's potentially like slate breaking Chuba Hubbard style? And on the 2 gamer, he wasn't even very popular for the 2 gamer for what it's worth. If I had known that, I didn't think the 2 gamer was all that advantageous with how salary worked out, so I didn't play it. I'm playing this 3 gamer pretty heavily, and I do think that that's just at least something when you get less than $1,000 off of it. If you get lineups where James Cook fails or you get Barkley failing, you're going to have all the information from all of those previously, and then you're just basically Henderson, Stevenson, Chargers running back. If it's Hampton or Vidal, like those are the only guys that are really kind of in play at the spot. So yeah, it's something that if those running backs don't go nuclear, I might feel really comfortable going $4,700 and finding some ways to save it. But otherwise, let's go to the expensive end where Christian McCaffrey might have to do absolutely everything for San Francisco. Pearsall's been taking the top off of defenses, obviously. We didn't see that last week, and they finally played a good team, kind of similar to New England, where I think 49ers had a very easy schedule, at least for the defenses that they faced coming down the stretch. And then they ran into a gauntlet, the best defense in football, Seattle, and bad things happened. But McCaffrey, when you have so many ways to accumulate fantasy points, Spags, it's so hard for me coming into this slate and to potentially be underweight to him. The Sims have us slightly underweight on the 3 gamer, but I'm probably going to swap into a little bit more. What's your plan for McCaffrey specifically?
Let's play a lot of them. And, I know guys like Brandon here. Apparently I'm a blonde when it comes to the NFL. We're going to pull up troll comments today. Today.
Hell yeah, brother. Let's go. Let's see the rage.
A lot of great blondes, including.
I agree with Brandon, by the way.
Rude. Second part, the data bros get lost when it comes to real life. Idiot. First of all, you're on a DFS show, dick face. Second part of that, Eric doesn't know NFL either, but it's cute to watch them. I appreciate the cute to watch them part. We are very cute. The point, though, is that there are good things that support McCaffrey in this matchup today. In particular, Philadelphia, their big weakness. And this is what the point is of both using projections. Again, you're on a DFS show, dipshit. But also using EPA data for this. Christian McCaffrey, you might question him as a play. Look, the Niners don't have a great total. I get it. The good news, they are facing Philadelphia team that their weakness is running back targets. targets, 0.07 EPA allowed to running backs. Everywhere else, negative EPAs, including to the slot, which is generally pretty efficient. Tight end, inline tight end, also generally pretty efficient. Negative EPA there as well. So when you see those kind of things, you can go to a guy like McCaffrey and know, hey, the data that shows that he's getting 27 and 10 touches a game, and also he's in a matchup where Philadelphia doesn't defend the run that well, and they give up RB targets. That's when you play the guy. I don't know if this is blinding me to get this worked up, Brandon, with random numbers on your name, but I think McCaffrey's a great play, Eric, and I have him in 75% of my lineups right now.
Download the Tails app. You guys should really download the Tails app. It's great.
Having fun. It's a fun Sunday.
Got 25 minutes left in this program. Hit that like button.
Let's just save that for like when we were done. We had nobody else to talk about.
I'm in love with James Cook today. I have 80% James Cook. When you remove Ty Johnson from the equation, passing game role, not really something Ray Davis is known for doing in his lifetime. And I think the game plan here, maybe some early down work for Ray Davis to mix in and maybe give James Cook a little bit of a break here or there. But this is like screaming 85% of snaps. And that's not even necessarily something that they've done because Ty Johnson, they do like to mix in, has been pretty good in the passing game. I'm on over 2.5 receptions for James Cook. I'm on a parlay of putting his touchdown together with 20 plus receiving yards. I think there's just so many ways that James Cook can just do everything here for Josh Allen and help him out. I think this is a great opportunity to play a lot of the two of them together. And that's something that I kind of shied away from during the regular season because they siphon each other off so much. How you feeling about James Cook? Are you as bullish on him as me?
Yeah, I'm the same page as you. I mean, got him 60% in the sim. I also manually gave myself 60%. So I was right there anyway. The second I heard on the deeper dive that Ty Johnson got ruled out, it's like, oh, great. This is one thing. For me, I had 2 top finalist teams in best ball, not in BBM, unfortunately, but the other tournaments on Underdog. And I had James Cook on those lineups, and he was a guy that helped out a lot in the playoffs. You know what killed him in week 17? You kept getting Ty Johnson in over and over again, these high leverage spots for Buffalo. Getting that out of the picture, maybe they go to Ray Davis, who is an okay pass catcher, and technically does get targeted more per route run. Sorry. Oh, I shouldn't reference that data. He out there a lot, catch pass sometimes.
He catch ball. Ooh, hit hand. Oh, he hold on. He good.
But for James Cook, the assumption would be you consolidate that workload more for him, getting him in for third downs. I mean, this is a role that James Cook wants. Like, this is what he actually argued about in the offseason when he got his new deal, was he was like, I'm not getting the high value touches quite as much. Like, I should be getting there, should be getting the money, because my role would be even better if I were out there for the third down, some of the goal line stuff. You lose to Ty Johnson. But now you're in a spot where I think they kind of have to do that. It would be nice if it were a better matchup. Like, Jacksonville is a really shutdown run defense as well. They don't miss a lot of tackles. The 13.6% avoided tackle rate the Jaguars have on the year doesn't quite play into James Cook's hands, who's so shifty and able to kind of make guys miss. And, they are a good run defense as well in EPA. But I think for James Cook, just getting one body out there, it's kind of like NBA. It's not exactly 1-to-1, but you have more usage for James Cook today. You have more opportunity. You'll have more, more minutes, more court time for him. So to me, it's just, he's a better player than he was salary-wise when this slate was drawn up.
Far and away, the best live before lock NFL show this year, Treasure Warriors. I don't disagree with that. My voice hurts. I've been laughing the whole time. I've enjoyed this. I'm pleasantly surprised. Sometimes you never know when you get on this for an hour for a 3-gamer. You're like, oh man, we're going to get really in the weeds and we're going to have to cut. I feel like we've talked through a lot of late swap, which is kind of my expertise. We've talked through a lot of the data side, which I agree. You're a dipshit, but you at least say it. So I appreciate that. Overall, really good things have been done so far, Spags.
Look, when you have a beautiful blonde like me on a show, things are going to go right. Nobody has to script me either, like the old tip-off show, Eric.
Oh my God. Let's not even go down that path. Shout out Kayla, or rip Kayla, one of the two. Trevion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson. If there's one thing that I have done well over the last month in NFL DFS Spags, I have just jammed Stevenson. Like, when I say jammed, I had 65% in the Minimax and in the $3 on the show last week, week 18. That worked out pretty well. The fact that I didn't bank anything is kind of a travesty, the likes of which this world's never seen before, but we don't have to worry about Ashton Genty ruining my life any further. So that's at least a good feeling. How do you feel about the Henderson-Stevenson split, considering we've seen mega nuclear ceilings and a lot of it through the passing game from Drake May? And that gives me a little bit of hope for both of them here, but I think they're going to be more late swap targets than the guys I'm building into my running back spots initially, because I just can't bypass Cook and ETN on this slate.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like ATN to me is just at that similar price tag, a much better play going against Buffalo. And the one thing you'll say, just game theory wise, everybody knows Buffalo is a bad run defense. Like there's the social media accounts tweeting out this morning that the Jags then gave up one of the lowest rushing yards in the league this year, and the Bills have gave up like almost 3,000 or something stupid like that. It's very public knowledge at this point. I do think that does make ATN a much better play. And like I mentioned, for New England, a team that has beaten up on a lot of bad defenses in particular last 8 weeks, but you go the entire year. I just don't love the spot. And you have been a Ramondre whisperer. So if you're not crazy about him here, I don't feel like I'm feeling wrong about it. But I really think this is a situation where like maybe the Patriots win, all that. This is going to be, they're going to be gritty. It's not going to be, I don't think them putting up 50 on the Chargers here. I think it's going to be, they have to earn it. And I don't think that Henderson is that kind of guy right now. Ramondre, technically your power back in a tough defensive matchup. Those guys can pay off, but he's not Derrick Henry. Like he's not, I don't know. He's not like that kind of guy. So I'm not crazy about it, but I agree with you. Like when you have, Saquon at 50% expected ownership, Cook, same thing, ATN at 33, McCaffrey at 65. And frankly, ATN's number might be low. Like the big leverage here is going to New England just because nobody's there. And, Chargers, you make the same case for as well. But, you have a lot of question marks with Hampton in there. So I get it, but I just don't see them as guys I want to go to my way to get besides the 5 to 10% I got.
Yeah, to kind of talk through why. I mean, I'm still on the Stevenson side if you're comparing him to Travion. Coming off of their week 14 bye, they had a late bye, 67% to 48%. They actually shared the field a little bit together, 84 to 19 in week 16. And then it gets wonky because week 17 and 18, they absolute murdered. 48-52, and that's the Stevenson to Henderson split, 47 to 41, Henderson playing 41% of snaps. I'm just seeing Henderson projected better everywhere. I'm seeing his props higher everywhere, and that's been the case the last 3 weeks. And big plays, that has definitely been the MO for Travion Henderson. He can make you look really, really foolish, but what happens is Stevenson just stacks plays on top of each other, and obviously he's had some big plays the last couple of weeks. I'm not going to deny that either, but it's just one of those things for me where the running back opportunity cost early in the slate, I'm saying that knowing that I have a Vidal plan to at least get to like 10% in the event that you get Hampton out or we get word that he's limited. But Henderson and Stevenson, I can't really make way for them in the running back spot. It's just going to be boxed out and more than likely going to be going to a lot of 2 tight end kind of builds.
Yeah, I get that. And I do think too, with how much Chargers D comes up because they're so cheap, playing one of the Chargers running backs, I think has a little more, theoretical merit to me because you're already getting one thing there and you kind of can increase the correlation and get entirely unowned. But like Henderson, Stevenson, and the Chargers guys, they're all unknown in the slate. So like if you have a feel for them out there watching, play them. But they don't project that well, and chalk becomes chalk because they're the best plays in the slate. So always important to keep that in mind.
Nice to have an open little wide receiver position where we have tons of guys to talk about, and we're going to do that here in a second. But first, if you guys are looking to get to the Sims, if you're looking to have some builds, because again, we've got showdown slates the rest of the day. We got 2 more of those suckers coming up. We're going to have NFL Live Before Lock, I believe, before the showdown this evening, which I'm looking forward to. That's always Spags and EMAC. And then Monday, we got ourselves a low doozy total. That's going to be a fun showdown slate to build on for sure when you get those Houston-Pittsburgh defenses in a 38.5 total as it's dropped from the 39.5 where it opened. I'm looking forward to that from a building perspective. But the Sims, they're the big cornerstone. They're the thing that helped me build out in showdown because I have no idea what I'm doing in terms of game theory on that. And so I've been profitable this year just utilizing the Sims and letting it run because we have the best data in the game. And if you're looking to get it right now, completely free, sign up at one of our partners on the screen there. We've got Onyx Odds, Sweepstakes Book. We've got Better, Sleeper in the Pick'em Streets. We've also got the biggies, FanDuel Sportsbook, DraftKings Sportsbook. If you guys haven't signed up with any of these yet, you sign up at the instructions below. You get yourself a month of the Sims tool just by checking them out. So if you're looking for the lowest cost, free 99 is the best 99. Just sign up with one of our partners, follow the instructions below, and get yourself the Sims for a month. That'll lead you all the way up to the Super Bowl just about, I think, at this point. So that's good times. Good timing with that, especially because, Sunday, doing the math, carry the 1. Yeah, that's 4 weeks from now. You'll be in great, great shape. Let's get ourselves to wide receiver where you'd be in great, great shape if you're A.J. Brown playing a man defense. He's not doing that today, and that's got me less on the 42% that we've got currently. Maybe I get to some individual builds. I'm going to be rerunning things, and I have no idea to tell you how much I'm going to get based on my late swap process. But Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, the Jacksonville side of things, I'm going to start with them. Do you have a preference? We've talked about Philadelphia quite a bit already, but we haven't talked about the inferno that has been Trevor Lawrence. Parker Washington, his newest favorite target, or Jacoby Myers, the nice tool that showed up. And from the time he arrived, Trevor Lawrence has started balling out.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see the targets lately for Parker Washington. It's odd to me as well. So last 3 games, he's averaged about 10 targets a game, has had massive ceiling in that spot. And it's odd to me that it comes after they gave Jacoby Myers the big money and we're like, yeah, he's the Cooper Kupp in this offense. He had a few nice games, like, because Liam Cohen, a Rams disciple, does bring that over. I don't know why Parker Washington is doing as well as he is, but it seems like he's now getting that role that was supposedly carved out for Jacoby Myers. And I think I'm going to be with them. I'm going to be above the field on it. I got him in almost half my lineups. Fields at 35%. It feels to me a little point chasey because, the chat's asking about Brian Thomas. I do think you have him out there as a guy that we know has the pedigree to be able to do stuff. He is a guy too that, at LSU going on the field with Malik Neighbors, not a lot of targets, but when he did hit, he hit big. So he is kind of used to being in a situation where he's not the alpha targeter, even though we thought he would be after what he did last year with Mac Jones. For the situation now, like I think for, Brian Thomas, you can get some leverage there, but like Washington Myers coming up in almost half the lineups. I get it. I have no issue with it, but I do think Brian Thomas and even to a lesser extent, Brenton Strange, like those guys stand out to me as like, maybe you want to shave a little bit of Parker Washington, or, if you're getting him above the field, like I am getting Myers above the field, be mindful of getting some of the other Jags, because I think in particular, like box score watchers think Parker Washington's probably like a demon. And he's just a guy I think might be running hot. And if they consolidate snaps at all, get Myers and Thomas out there more, there are ways he could fail. I think even if he, is out there, does okay PPR wise.
I mean, just the snaps of these guys has been pretty wild to track. Obviously, they play a lot of 11, not a lot of 2 tight ends on the field together. You're getting Strange and then Munt backing him up a little bit. Quentin Morris has been mixing in more and more and more. Obviously, has the familiarity having been a Buffalo Bill. But I look at Brian Thomas there, 57% of the snaps in Week 18. Part of it, they went completely blitzkrieg pop at the very end. Part of it is Parker Washington's just ramped up snap share the last 2 weeks, 81%, 74%. He hadn't played, other than when you had Brian Thomas out there for a stretch, he hadn't played more than 40% of snaps in a game where they had both been active up until that point, 45% being the high point, actually, Week 15. But I just find it fascinating that Brian Thomas, he's going to be on the field probably 60, 70% of the time still, and there's such a huge ownership disparity between the two. Jacoby Myers, I feel the most confident about. Parker Washington, it's like 1B to some extent, but that's kind of where ownership's at. How much Brian Thomas do you plan on playing today?
I got to, I think, 25%. I can check a big number.
Yeah.
So I did get more than Stochastic is given naturally, because the field's at 20. Stochastic Sim at least gave me 12%, and the semi ran right before the show started. So I did want to get more there. I think for Brian Thomas, I agree with you. Like he's still, you go through the entire year, and obviously a large portion this year was Brian Thomas without, Jacoby Myers being on the team. Brian Thomas still gets, 6.5 targets a game. Parker Washington at 5.9. Jacoby Myers at 6.8, including his Raiders time. Obviously, the numbers come up a little bit since being on Jacksonville. I think that it's just a little bit flat overall. And getting to Parker Washington, getting to Jacoby Myers, like those should be the top 2 you get to. But I think if you are getting there above the field, you want to cover your ass a little bit more, diversify your portfolio, and get to a guy like Brian Thomas slightly more. And, to me, he's been bad, but kind of like the inverse of the Patriots. Maybe he's been so bad that he can be good here. He is a freak athlete, and I think that's also a part of it too. For going against Buffalo, like Buffalo's a tough defense. Jacoby Myers, good route runner, very precise. Parker Washington, good route runner, very precise. Brian Thomas, like, can blow the top off of teams, even if they are good defenses. So there's something there, but I think if people like the field likes Trevor Lawrence a lot, so you should play some Brian Thomas, because that's just how this goes. He could be your Jalen Coker today, which is a sad comp, but like that's sort of what he is.
Oh man, maybe it's Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen. I wanted to just kind of group this by the Chargers. I know you were talking about Justin Herbert and kind of on this chasey deal. Obviously, the Sims aren't getting you to a ton. They were earlier in the day. I'm not sure exactly what's changed since then, other than potentially. I really don't know, actually, but Keenan Allen at 4,200 is a pretty jarring price tag to see a wide receiver. Quentin Johnson has been the deep play threat. Ladd McConkey has underperformed expectations coming off of an inferno rookie season, that is, but he exceeded expectations. He was the one who went nuclear against a very good Houston defense in that game in Houston last season in the wild card round, but I'm all right getting to some of these pieces, but Keenan Allen specifically, seems like the salary saver below the Parker Washingtons of the world. How much Allen and how much are you planning on stacking this team up here with your Justin Herbert exposure?
Yes, I got the 10% of Justin Herbert and all that stacked up. I don't believe you want to play a naked QB at this stage of things. You would want at least a single, and I think relative to a 3-game slate, probably a double, maybe a triple with your QB. But I think for Keenan Allen, I mean, I got him 2x the field on my own before the show, and running the sim again here, getting him 2x the field still. So I feel good about that being the case in a stochastic sim where I'm not manipulating stuff. I think he's too cheap. I mean, the reality for Keenan Allen is that he's been the best targeter on the team by like a decent clip. He's got a 27% target per out run. Everybody else on the team besides Omarion Hampton is under 20% per out run. So like when Keenan Allen's out there, they're getting the ball in a playoff spot, for an older player that, you hope that maybe they've kept his snap count low for that reason. I think he might be out there more. And if he's out there more, he's probably going to command targets because he and Herbert, have the best rapport out of anybody on the team. Doesn't mean that Ladd McConkey doesn't have a ceiling, but Keenan at 4,200, I feel like is kind of pricing him for an assumption that he'll play less in the playoffs. And I'm not sold that's going to be the case against a New England team where, they might just want to chunk the ball, get it down the field. I think Keenan Allen could be a PPR scam in that kind of situation. Yeah. He to me is, I would say, the best value play in the slate at 4,200.
I agree. And there's one other value to bring up. Demarcus Robinson, if we get Ricky Pearsall out, which is kind of for all intents and purposes the way that I'm leaning on things going, I really think there's a chance that we get Demarcus Robinson simming out pretty darn well in the late swap tool. That projected fantasy point number, I think it's pretty much about where it'll be, kind of in that same ballpark, but maybe a little bit north of 6, just getting confirmation on that. Demarcus Robinson, 3,300. He's really the only wide receiver sub 4K that I haven't played. Do you have anybody else that you're going to be punting with that you want to bring up?
Yeah, Robinson, I got a little bit above 5%, so I'm cool with that right now. Did Pearsall get officially ruled out while we were on the show? Or
no, he did not. I'm saying that we're going to get that news after the fact. Okay. So one of the things that I want to late swap into a little bit more of.
Yeah, so I got a little bit there. I think Pearsall's been removed for some of the projection sets anyway, industry wide. Yep. So like if you want to just play it that way now, I think that's a smart thing to do. But yeah, the Robinson I think has the touchdown equity. Going back to last year, even on the Rams, just a guy that seems to command red zone targets more than you would think. Like he was their go-to red zone guy last year. Which is funny how things change with it being with Adams now, and then Puka obviously having some good results yesterday. But for Demarcus Robinson, I agree with you. Butte is the one that I personally boosted the most, tried to get him to 5 to 10%, and he was not coming up a lot naturally because I do think as a sort of game-breaking downfield receiver in this spot, he's totally unplayed. I think Diggs has been really good this year, but Butte being out there has been sort of an inhibitor to Diggs at parts of the season. So I did want to get a little bit there because I feel like when nobody plays Butte, that's when he has the outlier day. But to me, it's like people aren't playing Keenan Allen enough. So I don't need to get too cute there. I think he's the preferred value guy. But Robinson and I think and Butte would be the two that I went out of my way for a little bit more.
Top 2 highest exposure per position on FanDuel, please and thank you. You're very, very welcome. I can definitely give you that here. As we are breaking it down, we've got 8 minutes left in the program. We're going to talk tight end quickly on defense. Actually, I might get defense out of the way so we can spend the rest of the time talking about tight end and some of the ins and outs of that one here. But over on the FanDuel side of things, it is McCaffrey, Saquon, not surprising in that fashion. Over on the wide receiver side, Jacoby Myers, Stephon Diggs, he's 6,600 on FanDuel. That's somebody showing up more in my lineups there. George Kittle is above and away at 6,300. The guy over on the FanDuel side of things, much more difficult on DK as we're about to break down. Hunter Henry is number 2 there. And then on the defense side of things, Chargers, Eagles, those are your 2 most popular there. Allen and Lawrence, your quarterbacks, just like on DK, that are pulling the most ownership. So thank you so much for that super chat. And we got one more here as well from Mastermind Magruder, 6851. ETN or AJ Brown in single entry, thank you. Over on the DraftKings side of things for me, that's going to be Travis Etienne.
Yeah, it's also ATN for me. AJ Brown, I have no issue with. I do think, though, him being the highest owned Eagle, you can get direct leverage there. You can get leverage on ATN with a Lawrence stack situation because he runs the ball enough and has certainly taken a ton of touchdowns away in the red zone the back half of the year. But yeah, I think for me, ATN, I just feel better about, and I think I can get there with Smith and Goddard potentially. Both are fine plays. You could choose whatever.
Brandon Muller, 9786, $2. Would you play Allen over Kincaid in the flex? Oh, what a great segue into this. Dalton Kincaid, he's my favorite pairing on the 6-game slate, putting together with Josh Allen. But today in single entry, I played Josh Allen with James Cook and Brandon Cooks. That's going to be my single entry breakdown for that. I think we end up getting a lot of ownership along with the Josh Allen, Dalton Kincaid side of things on the 3-gamer that you probably don't want to get too crazy with, but Dallas Goedert is my preferred guy. We've broken down that the Eagles should have an absolute field day against the 49ers. In theory, again, things can go awry. It's the playoffs. We know how this goes, but I feel really good about Dallas Goedert being my highest owned tight end. What say you, Spags?
Yeah, I mean, I do like Goddard, I think the most in terms of the guy that I'm getting the most exposure to and a guy that I feel pretty strongly about. But, for Kincaid, I think he's in a good situation here. The tough part is that he is mostly a slot forward tight end. But the one weak spot in Jacksonville's defense, because they are pretty solid across the board, is defending inline tight ends. They give a 0.25 EPA there, 12% target rate, both appreciably above league average. Slot, they defend pretty well. Running back targets, they defend pretty well. Even though, did say positive things about James Cook. It doesn't really matter that much for that. Out wide, they defend pretty well, even though they give up a decent target rate there. So for Kincaid, I think it's a good situation for him. He should be. It sounds like as close to full health as he's been, and he's been really efficient on the year. 27% target per out run rate, 0.7 EPA on those plays. A lot of touchdown equity for him as well. So for Kincaid, I don't mind him. I prefer Goddard, but Kincaid, I'm at least with the field on. I don't know my exact number offhand.
Okay. Got Gadsden as well. Kind of pretty flat on that. I think Gadsden looks even better if you get Hampton out. Some of the pass catchers might end up being a little bit, might just be Justin Herbert throwing it 40 times, either come from behind mode or out of necessity to actually move the football in that direction. We got George Kittle, though, at 6,200. And this is the last guy I really want to bring up. Dawson Knox, if you want to mix him in to Buffalo stacks more than what the Sims are getting you, I totally understand that as well. But George Kittle is 6,200 at a position where he's the highest projected player by over 2.5 fantasy points. You have no Ricky Pearsall more than likely going to be out there for San Francisco today. And yet it's such a tough spot. It's such a tough ask. What are you planning to do with George Kittle, the most expensive tight end on the board?
A little bit under the field on him, which again, the stochastic sim is also pushing me there. So these were decisions in my exposures that I made before the show that I'm always happy to see when they align with what the data is giving me in real time. I think Kittle, I agree with what Ben talked about before the show, where, really, him being priced a little bit more would get that ownership down. And then you can really feel what the upside is. The fact that he could put up, 30 points in the spot. And I think, frankly, the other sides on the slate, I'm not sure that any of them are really capable of that at this stage of the season. But, for Kittle, tough match versus Philadelphia. They might have to keep him in the pass block a little bit more, just block in general, a little bit more than you would like. But he's been a good targeter under with Brock Purdy. Like, the role for him is so much better with Purdy than it was for Mac Jones. I think it's a good thing for him too. But, he's at an awkward price tag. I think that's probably the most compelling reason to play him. But if the field's going to play him around 33%, I got 25. I'm cool with that. And for Kincaid, I got 31. So technically, I'm a little bit higher on Kincaid than I am on Kittle right now. Yeah.
QJ, tough coverage today. Christian Gonzalez. If you've ever heard me talk about the New England Patriots defense, Christian Gonzalez is everything. The amount of love that I have for that man is not known. And also one of the best human beings in the NFL. Quack, quack, go Ducks, even though I guess they lost by 34. Thanks for coming. Have a nice day. Let's round it out with defense. Some people are calling this the greatest NFL DFS show that there's ever been and that there ever will be. Let's round this out in style by talking about the worst fucking position that somehow we still have to play, still have to roster on a 3-game slate. Give us a super flex for the love of God. But until then, I guess I'm just going to play a ton of Eagles, ton of Chargers. That seems to be the prevailing wisdom here. Go one of them, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy what you get in the sim. You get 90% Eagles and Chargers split up or so, depending on what you're doing. I get it. Defense, one of those things where there is so much volatility that I don't think it's crazy to just play some of the other defenses and roll the dice, maybe cut your ownership on Eagles and Chargers by a little bit. But, yesterday the Rams were one of the chalkiest defenses. They still made the winning lineup. So sort of hard to critique, I guess, what you're getting ownership wise here. But, for the Eagles, I think the Niners have a little more success. So I'm cool coming in not quite as high as the 50% that I got in the sim. And for the Chargers, this has been the thing we talked about in the beginning, getting against Drake May. I'm cool with it. But it does seem tough. It's like you're getting the Chargers naturally in projections and sims. Maybe that makes New England more appealing conceptually.
McCaffrey, Allen, or Brown, Barkley for single entry?
McCaffrey and Allen for me.
Yeah, I think it is verso slightly for me too, but I'd have to see the rest of the lineup because that actually matters big time as well. But I like the idea of McCaffrey, Allen, and you're trimming a little bit of that ownership. Brown's going to be crazy popular. Saquon's crazy popular. Not that McCaffrey and Allen aren't, but Allen, I think, trims it down a little bit. All righty. I think that does it for us. We just landed the plane somehow, some way. But you know what, Spags? We had fun while we did it. That's for damn sure. He's Chris Spags. Go follow him on X at Chris Spags. And please, when you're done here on YouTube, type in Splash Play. He will pop up. It will be a beautiful blue avatar. You need to hit follow on Splash Play. He is breaking stuff down in the NBA streets, in the NFL streets. He is data centric. Even though he's a beautiful blonde, he can get it done for you. Go give him a follow. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I appreciate you dealing with me, Eric, this show, as I've been here, just a dumb blonde with marbles rolling around in my head. But it's been a very fun show here. And look, guys, the games get shorter here as we go on. We get less and less of them every week. So we will be here doing the work, enjoying the ride while we can, before, the shows start consolidating a little bit more. So I'm glad to be here. We had some fun. And thank you for making this a fun time, Eric. That was the best. Tight hour might be good for us. Maybe the hour 15 is where we.
Yeah, yeah, the hour and a half is a slug. It doesn't matter if I'm with you, if I'm with Kate Upton, another beautiful blonde. It doesn't matter what I am up to. All that matters is that we can get to the positions. We can break it down. We can give you some actionable information. Don't forget, late swap. Pay attention to news. O'Meara Hampton, Vidal. I do say this, just like if you're trying to trim ownership or if you're trying to, win long-term at this, just always constantly think about how can I get different from the field in a way that the Sims will also agree with. And Vidal, he'll look a lot better if you have Hampton out. So keep that in mind. Keep swapping. Good stuff. He's Spags. He's awesome. I'm Eric. We had fun on this one. Oh boy, I'm going to go get yelled at by Tom. We'll see you guys. Bye.